36 going up there. So they're averaging about 80, 90 miles an hour then? Yeah. Okay. Alright, thank you. Okay, so good morning from down here in the assembly area where we've got the MSA British Superkarts in the holding area. Now these things are absolute weapons. They are around 90 horsepower, but they only weigh about 380 kilos, and top speed, especially going up to rocket, you'll be looking at around about 140 miles an hour. And as you see, they're not the biggest of vehicles, so they are pretty epic to drive. Now you've got Carl Kinsley and Liam Morley on the front row, and yeah, so we're in for an epic 12-minute race. So we'll have a quick chat with Carl. I'll just go this side. Right, how are we feeling for the race?
Yeah, pretty good. Hopefully have a good race.
It's pretty physical to drive these, aren't they?
Yeah, really physical. But they're good fun.
Excellent stuff. Well, good luck. That's for Carl Kinsley. Next up is Liam Morley, who was yesterday's race winner. He's just revving now. Are you going to try and do the double?
I hope so. See if I can check out on that one and hold it from there.
And what's the you got some new boots? You got new tyres on. I mean, what's the grip like out there?
I'm hoping it'll be a little bit better today with the temperature being a little bit cooler. But we got the new tyres this morning just in case it rains this afternoon.
Alright, excellent stuff. That's your front row. Next up we got Ross Allen, who's drawn third on the grid, and he's just getting in the zone. And P3, are you excited?
Yeah, thanks for a good ride.
Alright, excellent stuff. Thank you. That's Ross Allen. Next up we got Lee Harpham, who's drawn fourth on the grid, and Lee's just getting himself in the zone. Your mission will be to try and beat the two in front of you, won't it?
Yeah, that's the plan. I mean, we was in second place yesterday, and two corners to go, lost driving, it's stripped third gear, so we're hoping to better it today.
Alright, excellent, well done, mate. Thank you. It's good luck from the top four. So there's our top four for the British Superkarts. I'll hand you over to Scott Woodward, who will take you through the grid.
Yes, thank you, Jamie. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to day 2 here at Anglesey for the BRSCC live race weekend here in Anglesey by the Welsh coast. It's looking to be quite a spectacular weekend here once more. We had an epic first day yesterday with 2 exciting Fun Cup races. The second, of course, going from the twilight into the darkness through the setting sun. And, of course, we had races yesterday from not just the Motorsport UK British Superkart Championship, but also the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Championship, the Mazda MX-5 Supercup, and the combined grid for the Avon Tyres National and Northern Formula 4 Championships. All of them will be back out once again for 2 races each today, and we're also joined today by the modified Fords. They have also 2 racers who have just completed their 15-minute qualifying session to start today's track action. As mentioned, Scott Woodward is here to get things underway. I think what we might do is possibly give you a rundown of where we are in terms of the timetable of today. So as you say, it's pretty much in between the Fun Cup races, the same order that we had going through. Also got some additional racing from the MX-5 Clubman Championship. We'll go through the timetable. So first up for today, of course, is the second race of the weekend for the Motorsport UK British Superkart Championship. That's then followed by the second BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Championship race. Then the Avon Tyres National and Northern Formula 4 Championship for their second race. The Mazda MX-5 Supercup for their second race, and then we have the modified Ford series who finish off the morning's action with their first race of the day. In fact, there it is on screen for your timetable. So that's as I've just run through. So Superkarts, MX-5 Championship, National and Northern Formula Fords, MX-5 Supercup, then the MX-5 Clubman and modified Ford series have their first race of the day. Then we get into a lunch break, and we then start and do it all over again. So it's then Superkarts, MX-5 Championship, National Formula Fords on their own for the third race because the Northern Super Classics only have 2 races for this weekend. Then MX-5 Supercup, MX-5 Clubman Championship, and once again finishing off today's action with the second modified Ford Series race. So plenty of different types of racing, plenty of action, sports cars, karts, saloon cars, single-seaters. Nice variety here for this weekend. Good to see quite a few people here this weekend as well. We've got some spectators here back in Wales. First circuit racing went proper back back in Wales for a while. They did have a test sort of pilot race event last year to see the feasibility of running race events, but the Welsh Government decided to not run anything properly for net last year. But this year, of course, they managed to get back going. They had a circuit rally event just this last week. And now the first circuit racing event of the year in Wales here, courtesy of the BRSCC at Anglesey. So, just waiting to get our first race of the day underway. If you are watching both either on Facebook or on YouTube, do be sure to hit us up in the comments, and do be sure to come and check out the stream. It's set to be quite an exciting day's worth of racing all around. If it's anything to match yesterday, it will certainly be something. We've already got a message from Lorik Thierry from Belgium, so hello to Lorik, who's watching all the way from the continental Europe. And we will be getting set very shortly to have our second Motorsport UK British Superkart race of the weekend. Just remind you what happened yesterday in the results. If we have a look through, we can also give you the grid very shortly, but we'll look through race one's result first of all. From that one, it was a pretty dominant performance from Liam Morley, who won the first race and the Division 1 category by just over 16 seconds. And then it was quite a close battle between Ross Allen in second place and the charging Carl Kinsey, who picked up third after he started a little bit further down the grid. Matt Robinson was fourth, ahead of Samuel Moss in fifth yesterday, and then Andrew Waite rounded out the first 6 places for Division 1 karts. Seventh place on the GP plate was Paul Platt, who won the 250 class in his gas engine PVP. Then it was Lee Plain, who took second in that class ahead of Kurt Catamol in third, and all those 3 karts took 7th to 9th overall. Then Lee Harpham only just managed to get across the line. His engine seemed to falter right at the end of the race, and he only just managed to edge his kart across the line to pick up the final top 10 spot just before Mark Gilletly came across to win the 450 category as well. He won that class from Charles Edward Johnson, who was 15th overall but second in class, and then 17th overall, and third in class was Gary Ward in kart number 55. And then in the other categories, we had the 125 class was won by Tom Riley quite convincingly. He did so from Michael Parr in second place, who was 19th overall, and then Mark Bramble, who was 20th overall just behind, and in third in the 125 class. So the British Supercar Championship is pretty much the Formula 1 of kart racing, essentially in many cases, particularly Division 1. And these are perceived to be one of the premier classes in long circuit cars. They might weigh about 10 kilograms more than their Formula 250 equivalents, but the trick chassis in these cars offer its full capabilities. They have around 100 brake horsepower, and they can go from 0 to 145 miles an hour in seconds, just mere inches off the ground. You have to respect the championship. That he also has quite big praise from the likes of Michael Schumacher and Valentino Rossi, who have both not only praised these cars but also sampled them themselves and just told of just how incredible these machines are. The F250 national runners have a single 250cc bike engine derived from motocross bikes. They produce about 65 brake horsepower with speeds of around 130 brake horsepower, and the difference to the 125s, they have slightly bigger wings. 250s and the 450s are fairly in similar ilk, only which the 450 national class cars have a 4-stroke motorcycle engines, whereas the Formula 125 Opens have smaller 125 KZ engines. The kind of engine that you find in championships like the British Kart Championships on the shorter kart circuits, and those 125 karts have about 50 brake horsepower or so, and they have a noticeable lack of a rear wing too. But even though those smaller karts only have 50 brake horsepower, they can still reach about 120 miles an hour. That's the kind of speed that you're looking at here. There might be about a 20 mile per hour difference, but 145 miles an hour by the seat of your pants is quite thrilling, and so that is something which is certainly going to happen here for these 2 races we've got this afternoon. We'll just give you a recap of also where we are in terms of the points coming into the weekend. We haven't got calculations for after race number 1, but in terms of the points championship, we'll look at Division 1 first. We see that's one of the 105 Fords, one of the Hadfields being pulled into the pit lane. I think that's possibly Simon Hadfield's Ford Puma. Both are running Ford Pumas, but they're one of them unfortunately had an issue on track which needs to be recovered. So Division 1 coming into this weekend at Anglesey was 3 victories on the bounce at the first rounds at Mallory Park for Ross Allen. He led coming into the weekend with 75 points. Carl Kinsey was second with 56 points. Then it's Mark Pask with 46 points, just a point ahead of John Faulkner with 45, and Elliot Marks 5th in the points in Division 1 with 30. In the F250 national class, which I'm going to show you once it catches up, is it's a lead of 2 points for Michael Goff. No, sorry, forgive me, Lee Plain, who took the lead for that, 70 points. Then there's a gap back to Michael Goff in second place with 53, followed by Kurt Catamol with 51 points, Luke Plain with 45, and then Paul Glenister with 33. In the F450 national category, The points lead at the moment is held by Mark Gillitley, took 2 wins last time out and looks like a 2nd place. He then has an advantage of 13 points over Charles Johnson with 53 and Ronan McClintock with 51. And then the Formula 125 Open category, it is the lead of the championship so far for Tom Riley, who took 3 class wins at Mallory. He has a perfect score of 75 points, and that's ahead of Michael Parr with 50 points, a point ahead of Paul von Gerard with 49, and it's tied for 4th place between Gary Potkins and Rob Austin. But I think Rob Austin is a little higher up because he got a slightly better result in the first race, which means he is up there in 2nd place. So the grid for race number 2 is set essentially by the finishing order of race number 1, and here it is on the grid. So Liam Morley then starts in pole position for race 2 of the weekend for the Motorsport UK British Supercar Championship. Carl Kinsey will start alongside him, and it's Lee Harpen and Ross Allen from Matt Robinson and Samuel Moss. Andrew Waitman and Gulliford round out the top 8. And then we get into the next part of the grid. In 9th place is Paul Platt, who is top of the 250 class karts. He'll start alongside Lee Plain, Mark Paston, Kurt Catamol come next from Mark Gennett-Lee and Michael Goff with Luke Plain and Ronan McClintock. You can also see that Kart 50 has stopped on track. Kart 50 is John Busby, who didn't finish yesterday's race, so problems for John at the start of this 2nd race. We then go to row 9, which should be then John Faulkner and Charles Edward Johnson, followed by Gary Ward and Michael Parr. Tom Riley, who tops the 125 division, ahead of Mark Bramhall and Martin Gower. John Busby would have been starting from 24th on the grid, but sadly, as you can see just behind the graphic, his car has ground to a halt at the banking. Ben Parkinson and Richard Connick comes next on row 13. As you get to our final 4 rows, Ben Parkinson and Richard Connick come next, Rob Austin and Paul von Gerard. Then it's Andrew Powell and Alan Flewitt, Steve Soki and Amy Yerger, who will round out the 32 kart grid. It is a 12-minute race. We might get a slightly delayed start because of the stranded kart number 50. As you can see, John Busby is out of the kart. I think the master's prompting him to quickly get back in so they can move it off the circuit. And if it might mean a slightly delayed start in order to allow that to facilitate itself, and it might mean the safety car, the RunYourFleet.com Jaguar XF Sport Brake safety car takes them back around again to do so once more. So the safety car brings them back around. I think they're going to take them for another formation lap, I think, by the looks of it, because they're still recovering John Busby's car, but it is now being pushed into the infield, which means that I think we should be able to get things underway fairly swiftly. We've just been an extra warm-up lap for these cars in order to get some extra heat into those very small tyres that they run on these machines. And if you've never seen supercars before, if you weren't here for yesterday's action, it's certainly going to be quite the race in store, I think, if we're waiting for this one, because it should be quite a mega occasion. There goes the safety car with the pack. Everyone will form up in 2x2 formation as near as possible before we get the start underway. And after this weekend, they still have one more event, which will be set to be at Capital Park. That's towards the end of August. And then at the end of September, also again with the BRSCC, there will be the coveted British Superkart Grand Prix, which is the crown jewel event of the British Superkart calendar. That takes place at Donington Park on the 25th and 26th of September, and I'm pretty certain that the GP plate will be up for grabs, which is currently held by Paul Platt, who, as we mentioned, is the leading kart on the grid in the 250 category. It is incredible to think that you would never suspect that karts like these will be able to go this quickly. But it's quite astonishing in some cases to see exactly how that all works, how these karts machine. And I think even the most daring of racing drivers in regular four-wheel machinery will probably call these guys absolutely mental, but it is quite a category of racing. It's been around for about 30 plus years. Of course, legends like Martin Hines used to populate this one and make it a incredible place to go. They used to race at places, I'm sure, like Spa and Le Mans and other great circuits. Supercars has been quite a fantastic form of racing that's been around for so long, and it's great to see this current generation of drivers still keeping it alive and still keeping it popular. So 31 karts will take the start for this second race of the weekend, the second meeting of the year for the 2021 Motorsport UK British Supercar Championship, the brand new UK national level championship run by the Motorsport UK and also overseen by the British Racing and Sports Car Club. So, welcome to today's racing here at Sunday at Anglesey. Strap yourselves in because this is going to be quite an electric start to today's action, of course. There's lots of racing with MX-5s, Formula 4s and modified 4s, but we're going to kick things off in style with some Superkart action. It is Liam Morley and Ross Allen on the front row of the grid. Kart 24 is Liam Morley. Kart number 3, the black and yellow, is Ross Allen. They head round the final corner of the bus stop up towards the green light. When the red lights go out, we will be racing. It's green flag and we're underway for race 2 here at Anglesey, and straight into the lead goes Liam Morley. I think for a cracking start from second place, it looked like it was possibly from the second row of the grid, Lee Harpham, so he's managed to jump up into second position already. Side by side now as Ross Allen gets squeezed up by the 84. That's Matt Robertson with a strong start, but he's almost side by side for the lead. Here goes Lee Harpham challenging Liam Morley for P1 as they come up towards the right-hander at Church, and already getting up to some 120 plus miles an hour through Church Corner. But Liam Morley leads the way. Harpham in second place, up to third has now gone from Andrew Wakefield, almost at 7th on the grid. A cracking start for car number 18, already up there for position 3. Ross Allen's down to 4, and the threat now from the 84 of Matt Robertson to get back up in position. So not a great start from the front row. There's contact behind. One cart's gone wide. I can't quite catch the number, but it's someone in the mid-pack towards the bottom of the top 10. But already then, Liam Morley trying to extend an advantage as they come up through Peel for the first time, and trying to challenge for second place is Andrew Waite for 7th on the grid behind Lee Harpham. They head into Siemens for the first time at racing speeds. They'll head off through a left-hander at Siemens and up towards the hairpin at the end of the Tom Price straight. But Morley trying to extend his advantage already. 4th place now for Matt Robinson. Ross Allen has dropped back still to 5th position. He's under threat from the cars behind. But we'll get the timing up on the screen so we can have a look and see who is where by the time they get to the end of the first lap. So, looking to try and pick up where he left off yesterday is Liam Morley. The kart in 6th position. The kart appears to be Gulliford in kart 20. He's made a decent start from what was on the grid. I think it was 8th on the grid where he was. Yes, it was. So the 4th row men made a cracking start from slightly deeper in the top 10. But it's then Morley who leads. Then Harpham in 2nd, Waite in 3rd. It's Robertson 4th, Kinsey 5th, Gulliford 6th. Another great start also for Lee Plain as well. He's now the leading 250 kart, made up 3 spots from where he started. The biggest mover though, up 14 places where he started in Division 1, is the number 93, starting back in 25th position. That was Ben Parkinson in kart number 93. What an absolutely sensational start he's made, making up that many places on the first lap. 14 positions, which is amazing. In fact, that's Moss, who's behind now Paul Platt, who's just got past him. Paul Platt crossed the line in 9th place, but he's moved up another spot in the GP kart. And he now has to try and get his next target will be to get onto the tail of the current Formula 250 leader, which is Lee Plain. So class leaders is Liam Morley still ahead of Division 1. It's Lee Plain heading the Formula 250 category. Mark Gellert once again leads for the 450 Formula class. And then in the 125s, it is going to be the number 49. Around the outside there looks Matt Robinson on Ross Allen. The number 49 is going to be Michael Parr. He's come up from, I think, the second best 125 kart to take the lead from Tom Riley. There you see Lee Harpham in 2nd place. Andrew Waite in 3rd. The battle for 4th is on now between Ross Allen and Matt Robinson. Ross Allen started on the second row of the grid, whereas Matt Robinson was back on P5. So some of the pole sitters not quite faster with it. Sorry, forgive me. That's Carl Kinsey, not Ross Allen. Forgive me. I was getting my colours mixed up. I do apologise. So I think possibly Ross Allen has dropped. Either he's not in the race or he's dropped right back, because that's Carl Kinsey at the front. He was motoring yesterday in quite some because I think possibly for whatever reason Ross Allen hasn't taken the start. But if he has, he's tumbled down the order. Looking at my timing screen just to make sure. Right, no, Ross Allen has crossed the line. Or if he no, he hasn't. So it looks like he took the start, was way down the order, but hasn't crossed the line. So looks like, I'm afraid, Ross Allen has not taken the start for the second race. As Carl Kinsey is now having a scrap with number 84, Matt Robinson, into Siemens for the second time. For the third time as they come through the left-hander. It's only a 12-minute race. It's a short encounter for these British Supercars, but they do lap incredibly quickly. They're lapping at around about top times 1 minute 23, 1 minute 24. So definitely on the international circuit here, they are the quickest karts out there. So they're 47. Lee Harpham extending his advantage in the VM engine MS chassis. And now we've got a battle possibly brewing here for 3rd between Waite, Kinsey and Robinson. Andrew Waite in kart 18. Carl Kinsey in number 3, Matt Robinson in number 48 as Robinson continues to apply the pressure. 3 turn 1 has a look, diving up the inside into the hairpin. He's got enough grip on the inside line. Kinsey will try and fight back around the outside, which he does, but Robinson squeezes him out. And he's going to be up to 4th position now for Matt Robinson. Kinsey will try and get him back. He's in the slipstream as they run through the right-hander at Church. Flat out, 120 plus miles an hour. And now both of them will start to close in on Andrew Waite as they find their way back up through School Curve and up towards the Rocket Complex. Kinsey closing back in. Both of them. Look at the way Matt Robinson just closes so much. He's so much better on the brakes than the two karts around him. Andrew Waite's going to have to pull something special out here to try and defend this third position, the final spot on the podium in Division 1 overall. Just quick catch up with our class leaders. It's still Lee Playman leads Formula 250, still Mark Gellert leads 450, and in 125s it is still Michael Parr leads in kart 49. So race continues on. We're getting into the halfway stage, and here comes Robinson up the inside with a big move into the hairpin. And Waite tries to go for the wide approach to get the undercut on the exit, to get the bit of traction. It does work. He pulls himself back alongside, and Waite with the momentum might have the outside line running down towards the bus stop, but track position will be Robinson if he goes that little bit later on the brakes. He's been that much superior in the race so far, and it's almost easy pickings down the inside. So that's another place gain for Mark Robinson. So Matt Robinson up now into third place. Next target will be to see if he can catch Andrew. See if he can catch in second place Lee Harpham. Lee Harpham started third on the grid. There's Carl Kinsey, started on the front row, has dropped back now to fifth position. Lead gap at the front, whilst we're looking at this, is 5.8 seconds already to Lee Harpham. And now Matt Robinson's got a 3.2 second deficit to make up on that kart in the background right there. That was Lee Harpham going for the shot. Sixth place at the bottom of the shot there was the number 20 of Andy Gulliford. He started back in 8th place. He's up 2 spots from where he began on the grid. 7th place for Lee Plain, who leads of course the class in Formula 250. But he has now got the GP plate of Paul Platt closing down on him. The gap is 5.1 seconds between them. Look at the wrong car. It's 1.9 seconds between them. And then the number 93, which is of Parkinson, who remember started way down the order. Ben Parkinson didn't finish yesterday's race, so he started all the way in 25th on the grid, and is already up in the race he's made up to 9th place. So cracking job. It's actually Wade looks back and says, Carl Kinsey's on my rear wing. Indeed he is, up through the left-hander at bus stop, back onto the pit straight, and line him up for a possible move into turn 1, if not at the banking. But look, I thought he wasn't even going to wait for the banking. He had a look at turn 1, but the immense amount of grip these karts have means that you can hold it around the outside, particularly with the downforce they get from the rear wing. These really are some special machines in the British Superkart Championship. There is Gulliford in 6th, 7th place. That's one of the karts that might be faltering a bit. That's 27 over the problem. That was Amy Jurgen with the issue, whether it's just slightly off the pace or with a mechanical issue. Either way, that 27 car was not really going at racing speed, so I fear it might be a problem for Amy. There's Lee Harpham. Now the lead gap is to the man in front, Liam Morley, 7.4 seconds. So that gap continues to increase, but Lee looking very strong so far. Just looking at the remind himself of where Lee Harpham was coming into the weekend. He hadn't actually scored any points so far this year, so this is his first appearance of the season in the British Superkart Championship, and doing well so far. Of course, yesterday picked up, it was a 10th, because he was the man in 10th, he across the line 10th place, just trying to push his kart across the line after it had either ran out of fuel or had an issue which forced him to stop. He looks as though he's in good form already this morning. The gap between second and third looks like it's come down a bit. So Matt Robinson has got the gap down to 2.8 seconds, and he's lapped 3/10 quicker last time. There's kart number 12, that's Mark Gellert, who leads the 454 in the category. In the Yamaha engine Silverstone, he leads that from the 46 of Johnson. So we see Liam Morley there on a commanding Sunday morning drive at the moment. 3 minutes to go in this second Motorsport UK British Supercar Championship race. And as they head out of the banking and back towards Peel again, Liam Morley looks like in complete control. He was saying yesterday that it might have looked easy, but it was hard, tough work here at Anglesey, particularly when it's such a physical circuit. The temperatures have been quite humid here over the last couple of days. It's definitely a tricky circuit to race at, but it certainly shows that it's quite a circuit to race on, and certainly the Supercar seems to be enjoying it. It seems to be really suiting the high-speed nature with the long sweeping corners and big elevation changes. It's a real roller coaster of a circuit here in Wales, and the Supercars appear to be taking to it absolutely brilliantly. coming up to put a lap on number 83 on the 125 class cars. That's Avon in the Iami engine Silverstone chassis. Through turn 1. And the gap now between himself and Lee Harper, as Harper will come across the line shortly. 8.6 seconds, another half a second increase for Liam Morley at the front. The gap between himself and Matt Robinson has now stabilised at about 2.9 seconds because Robinson was about a tenth slower last time. And they make their way down the back straight. We'll get one more lap after this one. It's 1 minute 40 seconds on the clock, so we're on lap 7, so lap 8. 7 laps completed, so we'll complete 9 by the time this race finishes. So Liam Morley leads the way then. Lee Harper in second place, Matt Robinson is third, Carl Kinsey fourth, Andrew Waite fifth. It's then the 20 of Andy Gulliford in sixth position. Now Paul Platt has got past Lee Plain, so a change from a lead in the 250 category. Paul Platt on the GP plate has gone past Lee Plain in the 101, so it's now Paul Platt 7th and leading the class from Lee Plain in 8th. And then from the back of the grid, Ben Parkinson from 25th up to 9th place. It's pretty impressive for him. A great drive, one of the drives of the weekend so far, I think, out of all the championships we've had here up to this point. And rounding out the top 10 is kart number 31, and that is Sam Moss, who finished in 5th overall yesterday, but not quite the same pace today. 11th place, and also leading his class, is Mark Gennetly as we head on to the last lap here at Anglesey. Battle brewing on here between 22 and 61, so that was Martin Gower and Richard Conning who were having a scrap. I'm not sure Liam Morley needs to look behind him. He's got quite a substantial lead. He doesn't need to look behind him. He can just keep on looking in front and heading towards the finish. A little wiggle there through Church. It shows that even at this later stage in the race, he's still pushing hard. No room for let up in this championship. You have to go flat out from start to finish. But Liam Morley certainly proving why he is one of the men to beat this season. And again, wasn't present at Mallory Park, so he'll be looking to take maximum points from the weekend here to try and put himself up into contention for the final round of the short three meeting championship at Camberwell Park. Comes up to put a lap on Amy Yerger again, who's continued going, and now coming up on that battle that we spotted earlier on between the 22 and the 61. That's Martin Gower and Richard Conning. As they continue to scrap there, you might well go on to the last lap. If not, it might just be the last lap here. So if they're battling for position, I think they might have to, whatever it is, it'll have to resolve itself at the final corner. They're going to be side by side, but in terms of the overall win, it's going to be quite another commanding performance once again. He did it yesterday, he's going to do it again this morning. It'll be Liam Morley who makes it 2 from 2 so far at Anglesey in the Motorsport UK British Superkart Championship. He wins Division 1 and overall by quite a margin. So Lee Harper then in second place makes up for coming across the line under his own power, quite literally in second place. But it's third place for Matt Robinson, who closed into a gap of just 2.9 seconds at the end. Carl Kinsey will come across to finish 4th in Division 1 and overall. 5th place goes to Andrew Waite, 6th goes to Andy Gulliford, and then the next car across will become our 250-50 class winner, which will be Paul Platt, who managed to put overhaul in the closing stages Lee Plain. And across the line he comes, and it's going to be a victory in the 250 category for Paul Platt. Lee Plain is across the line, just that's 2.4 seconds back. And then from the back of the grid, Ben Parkinson, who put quite a substantial drive, 25th to 9th. That's one of the drives of the weekend here at Anglesey. Great stuff from him. And then it's the 31 of Moss who comes across the line, who is 8th in Division 1. Mark Gennetly will finish in 11th place to take the 450 class honours. The rest of the field comes streaming through. We're also waiting for our 125 class winner, which is going to be Michael Parr in 20th position. Hasn't come across the line just yet. And Ross Allen did get going again, whatever issue he had, whether it was a spin or contact with somebody, but he finishes back in 17th place. That will certainly be quite a damage to his championship points. Michael Parr has crossed the line, which means that he's also taken the 125 class victory, so well done to him. And also in class he'll be ahead of Tom Riley, who has his win streak ended after he won 4 on the bounce, the win yesterday in the 3 races at Mallory Park to start the season. And then third place for Kart E1, which is Mark Bramwell. So congratulations to all of our top 3s in each of the 4 classes for this morning's first race of the day, the second of the weekend for the Motorsport UK British Superkart Championship. So a quick recap then of the result, at least of the top 10, and a quick recap of the class winners. it is going to be Liam Morley who takes the victory, his second of the weekend so far. Lee Harper redeems himself after his mechanical issues at the end of the race yesterday to get second place. It's then Matt Robinson in third who chased him down all the way. Carl Kinstew started on the front row, finishes in fourth. And it's Andrew Waite in fifth, Andy Gulliford sixth. And it's Paul Platt who finishes seventh overall and also takes the 250 class win on the GP plate cars. Lee Plain is eighth. Ben Parkinson from 25th to 9th is 10th. And then Ben 25th to 9th is Ben Parkinson, and then rounding out the top 10 in car number 31 is Sam Moss. Then Mark Gallantly was 11th overall and won the 450 category. And then it was a win for, just very quickly, I can find our division, 125 winner, and it was, very quickly, if I can find him on the screen, Michael Parr, so congratulations to him as well. There's a few of our kart drivers clambering out. You'll notice that the Superkart races actually wear more bike leathers rather than racing overalls. It's quite a close, you're running quite close to the ground, so impressive stuff all round. But there's Liam Morley, I can see he's already got himself out of the thing. So we can head down to Jamie in the pit in the park firm to have a chat to some of our class winners and our overall winner, Liam Morley, here at Anglesey after a thrilling second race of the weekend for the Motorsport UK British Superkart Championship.
So after a fantastic first MSA British Superkart race of the day, it was dominated by Liam Morley. We'll just have a quick word with Liam. He's just chatting with Lee. 2 out of 2 is going well so far, isn't it?
Yeah, spot on. I mean, me and Lee were both just talking there. I don't think new tyres were possibly the right thing for the start of that race, but yeah, once we switched them on, managed to pull a gap and keep it from there.
Yeah, I mean, the gap was sort of nearly 10 seconds towards the end. I mean, the kart was looking quick out there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is this weekend. We've just seemed to have got everything right. Kart's handling absolutely amazing. The engine's not skipped a beat. That's yeah, it's just been spot on. We've not touched it all weekend, and it's going well.
Excellent stuff. Second place was Lee Harpham. Lee couldn't quite catch him, but nevertheless, it's still a great result for you. It's a great start to the day.
Yeah, it's a good start today, especially after yesterday. We did the gearbox, but like Liam said, put some new tyres on, thinking that's the way to go, and it took 3 or 4 laps for him to come on, and by that time he'd gone, so it's just a case of just sit there and make sure we keep a good pace. So.
Yeah, I mean, this place is hard at times. We saw like yesterday in the Fun Cup race, it was taking their toll on the cars. I mean, what's it like for the Superkarts?
Yeah, it's quite aggressive around here. This circuit always gives issues with handling wise. Don't know why, whether it's track surface or what, but it's totally different to everywhere else. So, I mean, Friday we had some issues with the misfire, so we missed the first 2 sessions, so we've been on the back foot all weekend, but we're getting pleased with that.
Fantastic, well done. Third place was Matt Robinson. Where's Matt? Let's see if I can find him. I think he's walked off somewhere. So unfortunately we haven't got our third place guy, but congratulations to Matt Robinson. Next race up will be the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Championship with Jack Brewer starting on pole. Is he going to make it 2 out of 2? We'll hand back to Scott Woodward. He'll take you through the grid.
So, from karts back to cars, and we're heading back to our first kart racing back of the day here at BRSC, the Anglesey live race weekend at Anglesey. And as Jamie, who thanks for the interviews by the way, has rightly pointed out, we are getting back to Mazda MX-5 action. If you're a Mazda MX-5 racing fan, you've got quite a lot to be excited about, because there is quite a lot here coming up here today with the racing that we've got in store. We've got our second race of the weekend for the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Championship, which saw, as we said, a victory, the 4th of the year for Jack Brewer, who took a victory from, it was Brian Trott in second place, and then double Silverstone race winner Steve Foden in third. It was a personal best for Zach Oates yesterday, the young karting graduate into Mazdas. 4th for him, and that's been kind of promised a long time in terms of his result after the start of the season. Then it's Oliver Graham 5th. Sebastian Fisher was 6th yesterday from Jason Greatrex, Fraser Fennick, Matt Pollard and Oliver Allwood. So I've managed to put in the points for at least the first sort of 10 or 11 drivers which are in the points coming into the weekend, to kind of shuffle them around and see where they are, to give us at least a provisional top 10 after that first weekend. So I now give that a Steve Foden, who appears to be now leading the championship by 5 points, 641 all in. Fraser Fenwick is currently in second with 636. Oliver Graham is now fourth. The victory for Jack Brewer now puts him up to fifth position. Oliver Graham third. Jack Brewer is now up to fourth after he was fifth coming into the weekend. It's fifth now for Oliver Allwood with 616 points. Brian Trott is now showing us 571 on sixth. Seventh is Adam Craig at the moment with 566 points. Callum Greatrex is eighth with 530. Matt Pollard is ninth with 519, and then just a point behind him is Jason Greatrex in P10. So yesterday's race had quite a lot of action. Here's the grid then, set by the result of race 1. So it was Jack Brewer who takes pole position for race number 2 of the weekend for the MX5 Championship. Brian Trott will start alongside him on the front row. Then it will be Steve Foden and Zach Oates on the second row of the grid, ahead of Oliver Graham and Sebastian Fisher, with Jason Greatrex and Fraser Fenwick lining up on row 4. The top 10 is completed by Matt Pollard and Oliver Allwood, who then start ahead of Callum Greatrex and Adam Craig on row 6. And then on top of that, it is row 7 for Owen Mills and Paul Bateman, ahead of Luke Pullen and Oak Richardson. We then move through to row 9, which sees Tim Dorr and Cian Donaldson, followed by Thomas Mallet and Christopher Ginn. And then we have Courtney Milnes, who's here as an invitation returnee, so good to have her back on the grid, ahead of Jordan Pimley in 22nd. Ben O'Hare comes next, his first appearance of the year, followed by Kevin Dengate in 24th. It's then Richard Wootton and Nick Ledoyen on row 13 of the grid. Bo Parry and Bryn Griffiths come next on row 14. It's Richard Bartlett, Graham Rumsey, and then Aston Wigley, who's sadly not on the grid tonight, for today's action, so he'll be just Brad Jones on his own back on row 16. So it should be a 31 car grid rather than 32, because sadly we do not have Aston Wigley on the grid. So as they head off for the green flag lap, which I think there was a slight bit of a miscommunication yesterday, they've managed to be told that this is definitely their green flag lap away from the mix. So away they go to warm up the tyres. So Jack Brewer will have been delighted to get back to form yesterday. He had a pretty stellar opening weekend at Croft, 3 victories. He had pressure from the likes of Michael Nibbs, who is sadly not here for the next few meetings because of we believe an injury of some kind which he sustained during the Silverstone weekend. He seems to be recovering nicely, and we give him his best wishes, and hopefully he's back on track with us very soon. But after that Croft weekend, where he was on the highest of highs with three race wins, he came down to earth with a bit of a bump at Silverstone. He got tapped by Brian Trott. All accidental, was not on purpose at all. I know Brian was very remorseful and very apologetic after that. He was definitely not happy with the fact that had happened between them in terms of that happening. He was very sort of apologetic to Jack after that accident. And then he made contact, I think it was with Matt Pollard and Aston Wigley at the start of the second race, which put him down the order. And then further troubles in the third race meant he really had a weekend to forget at Silverstone, but he certainly started off once again back where he wants to be, which is at the front. He was on the front row of the grid yesterday because Brian Trott took pole position for the first race in qualifying yesterday. Started on the front row, got the whole shot and got the lead quickly enough, and was able to then hold on until the end. So watch for Jack to try and go for his fifth win from 7 races where possible. Brian Trott is also waiting for his first win of the season. He said back at Silverstone that his car's in the groove now. He didn't feel it was really there all that much at Croft, but he's now managed to get himself into a really good position. And it also appears this year that compared to previous seasons where he's kind of popped in and out and done the odd round, he's committing to a full season this year because he knows he's got a good car underneath him. He feels good, the team feels good, so he's going to try and take full advantage of that and go for a full campaign. Steve Foden third on the grid, as we said, took his first two victories at Silverstone. He was absolutely buzzing after that, and so relieved, both he and his dad Ian, who've been working so hard over the last couple of years to make that happen. That genuinely had been a long time coming ever since he'd come close on several occasions before, but just on this occasion it all started to come good. And on that basis, it really was a magnificent day for the Foden team, and of course Mike Conber Racing as well, to get back to winning ways. And then looking fourth on the grid, I think we really do have to watch for Zach Oates. Came fourth on the grid, car 145, just at the bottom of the shot there. He has looked threatening and put in some quite decent drives up and down the order when he's had to start recovering from incidents or having an incident in one race and driving back through the order, and he's managed to pick up a couple of very strong top tens. Now he's shown his pace to be up there on potential podium winning pace. I expect him to be up there in contention once again. He will have gone overnight with Ali Bray and the team at AB Motorsport to go through the data, through the video footage, to think, right, where can we find more time, where can we improve, where can we get stronger. Also watch for the two auto test teammates, Sebastian Fisher and Oliver Graham. Fraser Fenwick, who won a race at Silverstone and came into the weekend leading the championship, is back in 8th with some work to do. And also Oliver Allwood and Matt Parr, of course, have got some progress to make from the 5th row of the grid if they can find a bit more pace, push them a bit further up. So the last couple of cars getting into position towards the back. You can see Bryn Griffiths on the right hand side taking up his grid position, and at the back it seems that though Brad Jones has lined up. So, stand by for more MX5 action. The first of the day here at Anglesey, the second MX5 Championship race of the weekend. Red lights on. It's Jack Brewer and Brian Trott on the front row of the grid. Let's see who can get the better start and win the whole shot down towards turn 1. The entire 31 car field streams its way into turn 1 for the first time, and it's Brian Trott who will turn across ahead of Jack Brewer. Heading through the first couple of the corner, we can see Paul Bateman already going into combat with Aaron Mills, and also then Luke Pullen behind him, the 27 car, who's a little bit of the exit curve to full effect. Heading up through the banking, they're all going sort of 2 and 3 abreast on the exit of the corner, but it's going to be Brian Trott that leads, Brewer in second place, it's Steve Foden in third position, Richard Wood running a little bit wide there towards the bottom of the pack, but they're all starting to get away cleanly, and now up through Church, onto the back straight for the first time. So Trott, Brewer, Foden, then it's Oliver Graham, he's gone up to 4th past Zach Oates. It's now under threat for 6th is Sebastian Fisher from Jason Greatrex. Callum's in there too, just tucked in behind Oliver Allwood. There's Ben O'Hare in the 9-5 car for Going For It Racing behind Christopher Ginn. As they pile into the Rocket Complex, almost 2 and 3 abreast. Yeah, always. Look at the two. Callum, it's good, great tracks. It's Callum and Jason going 3 wide with Sebastian Fisher on the inside, and it's 3 wide further back. It looks like it's Graham Rumsey, Bo Parry, and the 69 of Brad Jones who started at the back of the field. A little bit of jostling, a little bit of bumping and boring, but everyone's got through relatively cleanly. There's the 777 of Courtney Milnes. Good to have her back on the BRSCC grid this weekend as an invitation entry. Oh, a big dive up the inside into the seamless corner. That was from Zach Oates. He's determined to get his 4th place back and then to start making progress back to get back into amongst the top 3 again. He was as high as 3rd yesterday. Wants to try and make it up, and here comes Sebastian Fisher to go almost 3 abreast with his teammate. Oliver Graham was the pair of them putting an assault on a fast starting Oliver Allwood. He started back in 9th on 10th on the grid and is already up to 5th position, so a rocket start for Oliver. He's got himself up a few more places in the top 10, 5 places from where he started. Here comes Zach Oates looking for the inside line to the bus stop, and he might not be able to defend that much. He might even get a move on his teammate Brian Trott if he goes up the inside a bit more. There's a squeal of tyres in front. But everyone appearing to pile their way through. I think there was a bit of a skirmish, I think, because now somehow Zach Oates has got through to 2nd place. I think there was a bit of contact between the AB Motorsport teammates. Steve Foden's also been dropped backwards. I think that must have been what the squeal of tyres was, a bit of a collision between, I'm guessing, something involving Foden, Trott and Zach Oates. They're now going side by side further back in the pack, and Fraser Fenwick's also putting his elbows out, trying to get past Jason Greatrex. I'm out of breath already. It's been a lap and a bit. This is fantastic stuff to start this race. So look at them all huddled together as they come back through Church Corner. There's Paul Bateman in number 4, one of the leading Masters cars. And look, Jack Brewer's just checked out. He's got a massive lead, just smiling to himself, thinking, see you later, boys. I'm off for a Sunday morning drive. So 2nd place for Oliver Allwood now. Zach Oates is into 3rd place now. I suspect off camera there was a little bit of a collision. 4th for Sebastian Fisher now. His teammate Oliver Graham is 5th. Brian Trott's been shuffled from what was the lead originally down to 6th. Now 7th place for Steve Foden, 8th and 9th for the Great Drexes, Jason ahead of Callum. Fraser Fenwick's now dropped to 10th position. He started in 8th on the grid, down 2 places to 10th. But got to do something about Jack Brewer though, because he really is spread eagle in the field already. 1.6 seconds to the good when they came across the line. But that was across the line, because everything was happening on the exit of the corner. Yellow flags in the background, something's happened up at the complex at Rocket, so either a car's had a spin or been turned around and there's been an incident which we haven't spotted yet on the cameras. Down the Tom Price straight for the 2nd time. Zach Oates in close attention to the white and purple car. I think the car that's had the spin is Courtney Milnes, so she's getting back going again, and a bit of an up and down weekend back in the BRSCC Mazda paddock. It's great to have her back, but not having the best of fortunes by the looks of it. Now Zach Oates, I think, has had a poor exit from the hairpin because he's lost out to both of the auto test teammates. Both Sebastian Fisher and Oliver Graham have got through, so he's now down from 3rd to 5th. And the 2 teammates running in tandem at the moment in quite smart formation. Sebastian Fisher was in good form at Silverstone, picked up 2 podiums on his first weekend back as Adam Craig in the background goes rally crossing at the exit of the final corner. I didn't realise Mazda MX-5s became good rallycross cars. Anyway, back to the banking for the 3rd time. And I think the question for everyone now is, how do you solve a problem like Jack Brewer? Because Jack has really got the advantage now, 2.2 seconds. And these guys ultimately have to stop fighting and try and work together to close him back in, because the harder they fight each other, the easier it is for Jack Brewer to continue to make a break, as both Steve Foden and Jason Greatrex, I'll get my words out, Jason Greatrex run wide on the exit of the right-hander at Church. Now it's side by side for second. Sebastian Fischer wants to go for P2 or Allwood. He has to go defensive on the inside line. Look at this. 2 AV Motorsport cars versus 2 auto test cars, and they're both going side by side with each other. Now getting back into the pack appears to be Brian Trott in 6th position. Foden's in there too, as are both the Greatrexes and also Matt Pollard. And 11th place also, I believe, should be Paul Bateman as well. That's an impressive one from Paul, actually. One of the leading Masters drivers. So that's the contest for drivers 45 and over. Up the inside for 4th position goes Zach Oates, who repasses Oliver Graham. And Graham might come under threat from another AB Motorsport car in the form of Brian Trott. But so far, it's all about Jack Brewer, isn't it? He is just sailing away at the front of the field. And this is the key thing, whilst everyone else is battling amongst themselves around them. That's the key thing. Lock up there from Tim Dorr into the hairpin. Little wiggly on the exit. Yeah, loses out to Adam Craig and also Ben O'Hare, almost went straight to the path of Luke Pullen, but he managed to pull the car back into a straight line by the corner exit, so all is well so far. 20-minute race, so plenty of action still to go here at Anglesey. Through the left-hander. Through turn 1, a little wide there for Oliver Graham. He's now going to come under threat from Brian Trott. He thought about a move into the hairpin, but he wasn't too close to make a braking move into the banking. So 6 minutes gone already in this 20-minute encounter. Still one more to go later on this afternoon. As they come back through Church Corner again. Lead is now 3.2 seconds for Jack Brewer. He really is extending this full advantage. Where is he? There he is. Bottom of the shot. Without a care in the world this morning. And here comes Zach Oates going for 3rd place on Sebastian Fischer. And Fischer might get boxed in by AV Motorsport cars here. He's got to his outside Zach Oates, to the inside Oliver Allwood. It's a bit of great inadvertent teamwork if it works. Round the outskirts of Zach Oates. He has the inside line for the second part, and he's got it. I'm not sure that was actually tactical, but it was a great piece of driving from the 2 AV Motorsport cars. Oliver Allwood acted as kind of the block in front of Sebastian Fischer, which he's entitled to do, holding his racing line, and then round the outside wins Zach Oates. Brilliant team play from AV Motorsport, well played. And now Sebastian Fischer is under threat from both his teammate Oliver Graham and another AV Motorsport car in Brian Trott. Also seen Jason Greatrex has got past Steve Foden. Foden was came across the line in 8th position, so he lost out 7th on that last lap, but he might get it back shortly. And now Zach Oates is thinking, right, thanks for the help, I'll take 2nd place from Oliver Allwood then. And 3 goes into P2, so that's pretty astonishing from Zach Oates. Now then, he's got time to do this. The question is, what kind of pace does he have in clear air, and will he be able to bring the cars behind him to get closer to Jack Brewer if he's got the pace to be quicker? This is the key thing now, because Zach Oates has got to use the clear air as much as he can, and maybe in some cases have Oliver Allwood work together with him so they can start to try and pull away. But if the 2 auto test cars behind is Sebastian Fischer and Oliver Graham have anything to say about it, it might not be that simple. So lap time wise, let's check out how they're doing then. So Zach Oates did a personal best last time, which was a fraction faster than Jack Brewer, who has the fastest lap of the race, which is a 1:48.791. So these two are circulating nicely. And so this is the key thing. Jack Brewer has clear air, but so does Zach Oates now. Already on the exit of the banking, he's pulled about a car length or so on his teammate. So let's just watch the lap times last time by. It's round the outside of Church Corner. That's a daring pass for Steve Foden. You can tell he's got his tail up now. He's got his first 2 wins of the season at Silverstone. And look at Matt Pollard, also former Rookie of the Year a couple of years ago. He's getting his elbows out as well. So is Callum Greatrex, and so is Paul Bateman. Everyone arrives trying to be in front at the complex at Rocket. Round the outside going wide is Matt Pollard. Jason Greatrex kind of forcing there a little bit. Not so maliciously, just kind of taking his racing line and with Pollard choosing to go round the outside. And whilst one Greatrex gets through, so does the other as round the outside goes Callum. Like father, like son, I suppose. I think there was also a battle going on just for 2nd place. Yes, it is, between side by side between 2nd and 3rd. That was 2nd and 3rd going side by side into Siemens. That was Oliver Allwood trying to get the position back from Zach Oates. So either these two are resorted to fighting with each other, or Oliver feels he really is much quicker than Zach. But they've really got to be careful, because again, they're battling too much with each other, and they're losing time to Jack Brewer in front and stacking up the pack behind them, because it's just bringing Sebastian Fischer and Oliver Graham and Brian Trott and Steve Foden and the Greatrexes and Bateman and Brewer and Oliver Mills all into play here. So they really have to stop squabbling with each other and trying to start to work together, but it seems as though they can't seem to agree in which order the AB Motorsport cars should go. Oliver wants to lead, then Zach does, and then it's just completely going back and forth, constantly corner by corner. And all it's doing is benefiting Jack Brewer in front, who's almost 5 seconds to the good out in the lead, and pretty much driving as if he's got a care in the world. Back down towards the banking. Oh, it feels like he has to go defensive, so Oates tries to go around the outside if there's any grip, but he might well leave the door open if he's not careful to Sebastian Fischer back in fourth position. The silver and purple car and the blue and orange car with a similar stripy pattern. It's his teammate. Came into the weekend third in points, Oliver Graham, despite his best finish of the year being fifth. So impressive stuff from Oliver. I think he's even moved a bit further up. He was third in points after he had a best finish of fifth. And looking back to yesterday's results, he picked up a fifth position again, so he's a sixth position again yesterday. So, but still maintaining third. It's all about consistency in the championship like this, where yes, you might have some days where some drivers falter and there might be some drivers that are quicker, but if they're not consistently scoring top points, it just allows other drivers in who are able to bank third, fourth, fifth places consistently, because it means then yes, drivers might be winning, but if they're also scoring poor results or retiring, that can make all the difference for those who are consistently plugging in and getting the solid point scores per race. So it's always crucial to go for the best result that you can and get as much points as possible, and ultimately try and keep your nose clean, because you never know what's going to happen, particularly in MX5 racing, and particularly in this championship. There is always something unpredictable that might happen throughout the field. Now Sebastian Fischer fancies a look up the inside, possibly the outside line into the bus stop on Zach Oates. A good exit. You might get a bit of a bump draft here from his teammate Oliver Graham, and Oliver Allwood has now decided to leave him in the tow. So ultimately Zach Oates is left in no man's land. He has no tow from the cars around him. Will have to hold on to the track position. Goes diving back up the inside of the two auto test cars and holds on to fourth place for the time being. But again, it's allowed Oliver Allwood to get a bit of respite with about a car's gap to the cars behind. But again, the lead gap has gone out once more to 5.6 seconds. So Jack Brewer just absolutely enjoying this morning's racing and really going back to the kind of speed that he had at Croft, even better in fact, because he had the likes of Michael Nibbs in close attention on more than one occasion. But Jack is just enjoying, I wouldn't call it casual, but he's enjoying a slightly easier task than he was probably anticipating in this second race, and allowing everyone else to scrap amongst each other. Here go the two AB Motorsport cars again. Oliver Allwood in second place, but here comes Zach Oates for third. Trying to get second place from his experienced teammate. Again, he'll look round the outside. This is the karting driver really trying to go round the outside, and now he's got to be careful, because on his outside, round the second part of Rocky, it's going to come Sebastian Fischer, or it would have been had Oliver Graham not stuck his nose up the inside of his teammate and decided to steal the place from him. They're going to be side by side into Peel Corner, and Fischer has to give him the room, but if he's not careful, he might also be under threat from Brian Trott, who's also in the mix and wants to try and pick up a couple more spots. He will want to be a little bit higher up than he is at the moment. Of course, he finished second place yesterday, as Graham now continues to hound his teammate down towards the hairpin, down the Tom Price straight. And again, Zach Oates decides to go for the outside line, maybe the undercut here. He's a little twitch of oversteer. He's trying to get the power on. We've still got quite a bit of time left in this race. We've got, I think even so, still even halfway to go in some cases. Oh, there's contact up at the exit of, I think that's on the run towards Peel, I think. No, that's at the banking. That is 97, which is involved, which is Keane Donaldson. The other car, I can't quite tell the name, but what it has forced is the safety car to be deployed with 7 minutes to go. So two cars stuck at the banking. One is definitely Keane Donaldson 97. The other one, looking at cars that were around him, it will be one of those occasions where it's pretty much, you on the time screen, you go spot the car that goes tumbling down the timing screen. Ben O'Hare has lost a few spots, but it's not Ben O'Hare at the hairpin, I don't think. Right, Jordan Pimley's the other one in car 50. I wasn't sure if it exactly, but I didn't want to take a guess. So Jordan Pimley's involved. I think also Ben O'Hare's hit strife, because he is going down the timing order as well. So I think there's been a bit of a three-car collision between these incident between them, and because of that, Donaldson and Pimley have come to blows and are, I guess, it looks like locked together at the banking. And as for Ben O'Hare, where he's disappeared to, it's not 100% clear, but that's a shame if so. In fact, we say Ben O'Hare's disappeared. Is that him parked there on the? Is that him in the pack? I think it must be a So forgive me. I think it was a transponder issue because I thought I saw Ben O'Hare's car on the pack, and it is in there. So I think these two are locked together and not quite sure how to unlock themselves. But either there's damage to one, which is denying the other from getting going again. But it looks like Cian Donaldson and Jordan Pimley are quite almost welded together a little bit, which is probably not what they were anticipating when they woke up this morning. So what this actually does now, it actually gives, I guess the one person that didn't want to see a safety car is Jack Brewer, because he had a lead of 6 seconds at one point before the safety car, but now it means that Oliver Allwood and Zach Oates and Sebastian Fisher and everyone else can start to get involved here. But they must know now, with these few minutes to go, they cannot get involved with each other too much. They have to try and stay as best as they can with Jack Brewer on the restart. Maybe even try and get him in the first few corners and put him in the pack, because I suspect that Jack might not be the one thing he'll be looking to do, obviously, is trying to get away as quick as possible from the restart, as they have managed to dislodge the two cars that were down at the banking. So Jordan Pimley just trying to manoeuvre his car out of the way and get it going again, although he can they both get going again? I think they can under their own steam. They're just a little bit locked together, but no, they have done. They're both either they're sort of trying to get themselves together and just checking the car can actually run, or they're kind of being very British about it and going, you going? No, after you. No, I insist, after you. So they're kind of wondering what to do, really. Though that said, I don't know if it's just the angle of the car, but Cian Donaldson's car looks like it's crabbing a little bit, so whether that's just suspension damage or maybe just the angle of where it's on the exit of the banking. It might be the latter, because of course it's not called the banking for nothing down at the second corner. So Jack Brewer leads them. It is Brian Trott in second place, followed by forgive me, sorry. Jack Brewer in the lead, Oliver Allwood in second place, Zach Oates is third. They are actually going to put looks like Cian Donaldson's car onto a low loader. No, that's Jordan Pimley's car, forgive me, onto a low loader. So the safety car will go back around again. We might possibly only get really a bit of a one-lap shootout here between between them. Lap times have been 1 minute 49 to 1 minute 50, so depending on how quickly they can get this car back around and how quickly they can pull these cars back off the circuit, we'll have to determine whether or not that we do get a very quick restart, or, dare I say it, we even get a result declared and a red flag thrown, because hopefully they won't take too long and be able to cover that. But of course the process has to be done properly in order to make sure there's no damage. There's Ben O'Hare, by the way. Forgive me for those watching for Ben O'Hare. I thought he'd actually disappeared, but looks like it was a problem with his transponder that saw him go down the timing screen at the same time as both Jordan Pimley and Cian Donaldson, which made me presume at the time that he was involved in the incident. But he's okay, he's there, he's in car number 95, just behind the yellow machine of Adam Craig. There he is, weaving from side to side, so all good for Ben O'Hare. It was last year's Rookie of the Year, actually. Now Cian Donaldson's car in the background to the left of shot, you can see, has stopped on circuit at Church, so that's right up against the barriers. So I imagine, I like to think it might be okay there for the time being. There it is, you can see. Driver, I think, either just clambering out or still sat in the car by the instruction. Yeah, the Cian's getting out now, so number 97 is done for the second race. Hopefully he'll be good to get that car ready for race number 3. Meanwhile, looking at the time that's left, still got about 3 minutes to go, I think, if I just refresh my timing screen. And we have 2 minutes 23, so if we're going to get going again, I suspect if we don't get going by this time, it's probably going to be either a safety car finish, or they might just throw a red flag and declare it. But either way, they're speeding up a little bit, so maybe we might get a restart this time, depending on how they're recovering the car of Jordan Pimley. So let's see if we do get a restart this time, if we are able to do so, or if it's going to be another lap behind the safety car. So Jack Brewer then might be in line to pick up his 5th win of the year from 8 races, which is quite a record. And if he does do that with the fastest lap of the race, he'll pull 101 points from this race, which is quite impressive. Now they are bringing them round again. It's 1 minute 33, so I suspect they won't get them to do a race restart, so it might well be that they finish them under the safety car, which is a shame, but we're looking for possibly a decent finish towards the end. But it will mean, by the looks of it, that Jack Brewer is going to pick up his 5th race victory from 8 races here this season so far. It was I'm sure he would have been looking forward to a decent grandstand finish. And it does mean also that not only is Oliver Allwood back on the podium in second place, but it does also mean we're going to get a first podium in the MX5 Championship for Zach Oates. So, given the fact we've only got 58 seconds left to go, I think this race is definitely going to finish behind the safety car. So I guess we can provisionally say congratulations to Zach Oates for his first podium, and also, of course, as well to Oliver Allwood for second place, and Jack Brewer, who essentially looks like he is on course to win his 5th race out of 8, albeit behind the RunYourFleet.com Jaguar XF Sport Brake safety car. The timer is about 30 seconds away from hitting 0. Rest of the order, Sebastian Fischer is in 4th position, Oliver Graham 5th, Brian Trott 6th, Steve Foden 7th, the Great Rex is at 8th and 9th, it's Jason ahead of Callum, and it's Matt Pollard in 10th, Paul Bateman 11th from Owen Mills in 12th position, Adam Craig is 13th, there's Luke Pullen 14th, Fraser Fennick 15th, Tim Dorey is in 16th position, Oak Richardson 17th, Kevin Dengate, after he had a spin, was tagged in the early stages of race 1 yesterday, he's managed to climb back up the order where he started in 18th place. Tom Mallet 19th, and Christopher Ginn rounds out the top 20 in car 20. And it's Richard Wotton, Nick Ledoyne, Bryn Griffiths, Bo Parry, Richard Bartlett, Graham Rumsey, Brad Jones, and I think Ben O'Hare will pop in there somewhere as well because of his faulty transponder. And Courtney Milnes, who had the spin earlier on, which saw a brief yellow flag up at Rocket, unfortunately had to pit in the early stages due to some kind of an issue which has forced her out of race number 2. So the timer has now hit 0, so I'm pretty confident that we will get a checkered flag this time by, and the Jaguar will lead the cars across the line to confirm the finishing positions. So there's the pack, and at least AV Motorsport can be happy to have 2 cars on the podium again. Ollie Allwood, of course, will be happy with the win, so with the second place. Right, the safety car lights are out, which means I imagine that the safety car, there should be no passing until they get to a line. So, regardless of what happens here, I'm pretty confident that Jack Brewer will just lead them across the line and secure the win. Because unless I don't think they won't have added any time onto this one. It'll simply just be runs the flag. And I think even though Jack Brewer, either he doesn't realise that we're down to 0, or he's expecting to just lead them across in a flying finish. But they'll head down towards turn 1, no overtaking at all because it will still be yellow flags, but into what should be the final corner then for Jack Brewer, who will turn it onto the pit straight. The checkered flag is ready, and it will be a 5th win from 8 races in 2021 in the MX5 Championship for Jack Brewer, who wins under the yellow flag conditions. 2nd place for Ollie Allwood, and a first MX5 podium for Zach Oates. Congratulations after a fighting drive from him for 4th on the grid. It's Sebastian Fischer in 4th place, 5th place for Oliver Graham, 6th for Brian Trott, 7th for Steve Foden, 8th and 9th for the Great Rexes, Jason ahead of Callum, and then Matt Pollard, who rounds out the top 10. So great job by everyone involved there, and it's going to be quite an amazing time for them in the pit there, I'm sure, for all involved. That's the recovery vehicle just heading back on the circuit. I think he's going back out to go and pick up Kean Dalton's car. So to confirm it then, Jack Brewer provisionally takes his 5th win from 8 races here at Anglesey. Allwood 2nd, Oates 3rd, Fischer and Graham round out the top 5. It's then Brian Trott in 6th, it's then Steve Foden 7th, Jason Greatrex 8th, Callum Greatrex 9th, and Matt Pollard rounds out the top 10. Paul Bateman 11th, Owen Mills 12th, Adam Craig 13th. Luke Pullen 14th, Fraser Fennick in 15th place, Tim Dorr finishes 16th ahead of Oak Richardson. And it's Kevin Dengate, Thomas Mallet and Christopher Ginn rounds out the top 20, and then behind them it's going to be Richard Wotton 21st, 22nd is Nick Ledoyne, 23rd is Bryn Griffiths, 20... so it's right, the Ben O'Hare's popped back into the order because he looks like he's showing us 14th, so he was a little bit further down, but despite the timing tower on the left hand side, Ben O'Hare's popped back in, so he's down to 14th place now. So it's Pullen 15th, Fennick 16th, Dorr 17th, then Richardson, Dengate and Mallet in the top 20, Ginn 21st, then it's Richard Wotton 22nd, then Nick Ledoyne, Bryn Griffiths, Bo Parry, Richard Bartlett, Graham Rumsey and Brad Jones, and we lost sadly Kean Donaldson and Jordan Pinley off the contact up at the banking. And then Courtney Milnes, who unfortunately had a spin earlier on and then had to go back to the pits and was sadly out of the race due to issues on that end. So, unfortunate stuff for them. But the cars then will head their way back towards Parc Fermé. And the next race will be coming up shortly, which will be our 2nd combined race for the Avon Tyres National and Northern and Super Classic Formula 4 Championships, who are on the grid for their second combined race for the second time and the last time here this weekend. The third Formula 4 race will be national cars only. Into Fart Perme brings the number 93 car with Jack Brewer at the wheel. I'm sure he'll have quite a relieved smile on his face after that one. I'm sure he'll want to be a bit more an easier time than that. Ollie Allwood clambers out of car 63. And Jack Brewer just undoes the belts.
Bleep machine.
Or just Freddie language you might have heard in the background there on camera. They are quite emotive, some of these drivers when they get out of the car. Zach Oates you can see climbing up behind as well. So as Oliver Allwood, who rumbers out and goes to his AB Motorsport team. As Jack with helmet off.
Ollie.
And climbs back out. Mask on for Jack. And I'm sure we'll have a chat and see how Jack Brewer is. That says it all, doesn't it? Happy with the victory once more. Let's go down to Jamie, who'll be able to capture some of that emotion in the park from him with race winner Jack Brewer.
Not wander too far because I'll need you in a minute for the TV.
Yeah,
is that
sure.
all right?
Yeah,
Thank you so much. Yeah, he'll need a mask as well. Cool. Thank you. So, race 2 for the BRSCC Mazda MX-5s, a shortened race due to the incident over at the banking. Firstly, obviously the drivers are all fine. 2 out of 2, Jack Brewer. That was you were off and gone, weren't you?
Yeah, they gave me a bit of a helping hand on the first lap. I don't really know what happened behind me, but massive congratulations to Zach Oates on his first podium. He did brilliantly. It was a bit of an anticlimax finishing behind the safety car. I don't think anyone really likes to finish like that, but it's nice to see both the drivers okay, and we go on to the next one.
Can you repeat, Croft?
I'll try. I think there's a bit of weather coming in though, so could be anyone's game, but it was a good race, that. Nice and relaxed for me.
Excellent, well done mate there. Right, second place was Ollie Allwood. Ollie, it was basically you were trying to fend off the entire field, weren't you? You were busy out there, weren't you?
Yeah, luckily I got a bit of experience with that. Really good start from 10th up to 2nd quite early on, and then we didn't have the pace, and the car's still not got quite the right balance. Just had to sort of drive the white lines and do my best, really. I was glad they brought the safety car out, actually. I'm not sure I'd have lasted another 3 laps.
It's a physical circuit, isn't it? I mean, we saw yesterday all the drivers were suffering with with the heat and the degradation that we've got here. What's it like in these cars? Because the slipstream's key, isn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately the tyres, we've changed specification of tyre for the championship this round, and it's just taking a little bit of getting used to, is the honest answer. So the tyres are overheating, and all the drivers as a result are struggling with that. So whoever manages to tame that is going to come out on top. So far we've not done it.
Excellent stuff, well done. Roll on, race 3. Third place was Zach Oates. Where's Zach? Great result for you, and your first podium as well. You've got to be really chuffed with that.
Yeah, it was a great race, and came into it with not high hopes, but here we are on the podium, and I'm chuffed. It's very happy.
Fantastic. Right, as the Avon Tyre National Formula 4s and Northern Formula 4s head off on their green flag lap, I'll hand you back to Scott Woodward, who will take you through the grid.
Thank you very much, Jamie. Good to hear from our top 3 from that second BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Championship race, and hopefully the third one later on this afternoon will be able to end under green flag conditions, but at least we can hopefully see that Kean Donaldson and Jordan Pemley are all okay from that incident at the banking. Right, from Mazda MX-5s to Formula 4s, and it's the second race of the weekend for the combined grid for the Avon Tyres National and Northern Formula 4 Championships. That's the MX-5 Championship grid, which is not quite the right names. I'll be able to give you the drivers, in fact, for the Avon Tyres ones, in fact. So, give you the race result and the grid. So, I've got it in front of me here on the TSL. So, whilst we're finding the graphic, I'll be able to run you through. There we go, that's the grid. So, set as a result of as a means of the result of race 1. So it means Chris Middlehurst, who was yesterday's race winner, will start on pole position. Alongside him was point leader Max Esterson. Then, as a result of the penalty yesterday for Alex Walker, was a 10-second penalty for I think a jump start. It means that Jack Wolfenden, who was also the overall winner in the overall Northern Super Classic Formula Ford contenders, starts third overall by virtue of his overall third place on the podium. So Jamie Sharp will start fourth. Alex Walker finished fifth after the penalty. Sixth for his teammate Lucas Romanek. Then Megan Gilkis and Andre Lafond also round out the top 8 drivers. Ninth on the grid is going to be Callum Grant on the 5th row, ahead of Benjamin Cochrane. Alongside him, Colin Queen, who had one of his best qualifying results yesterday, starts back in 11th after a spin at the banking on the first lap. Then it's John Murphy, who's the first of the older Super Classic cars in the Northern contingent. He starts ahead of Gareth Buckingham, who took a class win on his very first Formula Ford race yesterday. He starts alongside Formula Ford stalwart Ian MacArthur, but it's Paul Mason and Jonathan Barnes on the 8th row of the grid, followed by Nick Barnes, no relation I believe, alongside, yes that is his name, Juicy Brucey back in 18th place on the grid. And it's Stuart Dixon, the very unique Cooper Chinook Formula Ford chassis, alongside Paul Barnes. And it's Richard Ketterman and Paul Tucker. And then 2 drivers who failed to finish yesterday sadly were Carter Williams and Thomas Mills. They will start from the back of the grid, but watch for them try and pick their way through. Thomas Mills sadly retiring on the first lap yesterday, whilst Carter Williams was out after only completing 7 of the 10 laps. So as a recap then, it is the National Formula 4 drivers in the Pro class who are here this weekend, but also we've got 4 of the 5 classes represented in the Avon Tyres Northern and Super Classic Championship. We've got the P class for the newer cars for aged 1999 to 2021, as in the most contemporary chassis. Then we have Super Classic A for cars from 1998 to 1990. Super Classic B is from 1989 to 1982, and then we would have had Super Classic C had we had anyone fit for a car between 1981 and 1972. But then Class D, which we see just the sole representative being Stuart Dix's Cooper Chinook, that's for cars which were built between 1972 and the very birth of Formula Ford back in 1967. It's also the first live stream appearance of the Northern Super Classic contenders, so welcome to them, and I'm sure they'll be looking to put on a good show within their contenders. So, Chris Middlehurst looking for his 3rd win of the season after taking a win yesterday and also winning the David Leslie Trophy race at Knock Hill. Max Esterson took his first 2 National Formula Ford wins at Silverstone last time out. Both of them start on the front row of the grid. What can Jack Wolfenden do? The top Northern Super Classic runner from 3rd on the grid. The 5-second board is up. The red lights are on. The second Formula Ford race of the weekend for the National Northern Championships is go here at Anglesey. A cracking start from pole from Chris Middlehurst. Not such a good getaway from Max Esterson, who struggles away from the line towards turn 1. But they pour into the first corner for the first time. Benjamin Cochrane going around the outside of looks like a pretty quick starting Neil MacArthur. So he's made up a couple of places already. Out of the banking for the first time. Middlehurst leads. It's then Esterson 2nd, Wolfenden 3rd, Jamie Sharp's 4th. Then it's 3 of the Kevin Mills cars line astern. Walker, Romanek and also Megan Gilkins. Contact with Carter Williams. I didn't quite catch who it was that he made contact with, but he started quite deep in the field from the back, and hopefully he's not causing too much damage. Jamie Sharp was going for a move there on Jack Wolfenden. There is 34 of Paul Mason going side by side with Nick Barnes, both in different categories, but still going wheel to wheel within the Northern and Super Classic contenders. Got through Rocket for the first time, and I think that looks like it's Alex Walker's moved up a couple of places already. He started back in 5th on the grid, already up to 3rd. So the 3 championship contenders again back in the top 3 positions. That's 49 Megan Gilkis having one of her more competitive weekends so far this year, after she had a bit of a steady start to proceedings in her first full season of Formula Ford. And Jamie Sharp with a big moment exiting seam as he tagged the curve, and good car control there, saw the car snap back into position. So good work from Jamie Sharp, who you can tell is pushing at this early stage. There was a move there, I think, for one of the low density cars, either Colin Queen or Andre Lafond. That was on, by the looks of it, Megan Gilkes, and if that's, I think it is Andre Lafond. Those two had quite a battle. Yes, it is Andre Lafond. So those two had quite a battle yesterday, going back and forth for position. So their battle lines are drawn once again. In fact, Megan's now in the middle of a low density racing sandwich, because she has in front of her Andre Lafond, and behind her she's got Colin Queen trying to make a move and make a pass for position. As Lucas Romanek, see him back on the grid after he had some. He had his 21. Sorry, forgive me. That's Thomas Mills. So Thomas Mills is actually making his way from the back of the grid. He's got past Nick Barnes in the 105. His next target is going to be Gareth Buckingham in his older machine. So they're supposed to pick their way through side by side between Jack Wolfenden and Jamie Sharp as they come up through the right-hand school curve. There's Benjamin Cochrane, and one of the 2 Team Dolan cars run this year. Meanwhile, here comes, I think that's a defensive move from Mikey Gilkis, who moves onto the Fond out wide. Past him then goes his teammate Colin Queen. So Becky Gilchrist certainly getting her elbows out to defend from the two Low Dempsey cars around her. Into the right-hander at Peel. Just ahead you can see, I think that's Lucas Romanek on the back of, that's now Jamie, well it's Jack Wolford, because Jamie Sharp, who was behind Jack Wolford at one point, has now managed to get through. So up into fourth has gone Jamie Sharp in the BM Racing Medina Sport chassis. Also running well there, just behind the two Low Dempsey cars, Callum Grant, who is more known as a classic and historic Formula Ford racer, but adapting to the newer, more contemporary cars pretty well. And up in there in 10th position overalls in the Pro class. Leaders into the bus stop, still Middlehurst in the white and orange number 87 Team Dolan car, ahead of Max Esterson, the first of the three red, white and grey Low Dempsey Racing race chassis. Of course, the team run by Andy Lowe, but it was originally run and formed and run by the legend that is Cliff Dempsey. And so, as a nod to his legacy, when Andy Lowe took the team over for last season, he decided to keep the Dempsey name in the team as a throwback and a respectful nod to where the team came from. I know that was much appreciated by Cliff and Michelle and everyone in the Dempsey family. And it's good that Andy's carrying on the great work that Cliff did to bring in so many top drivers throughout the years, and he's certainly doing the same thing with his outfit. There's a trio of American drivers under his books this year: Max Esterson, Colin Queen and Andre Lafond, all learning about UK racing the hard way. There's the 53 car, that is Richard Ketterman battling away with the Cooper Chinook. As we see here, that's one of the Low Dempsey cars, and I think that's Colin Queen's got past, because Andre Lafond has the plain white race helmet, so that's Colin Queen that's squeezed past into, I think, his 7th or 8th position. Out of the Peel right-hander. And up towards the international circuit, where it's still Middlehurst from Esterson, Walker in 3rd. It's now 4th place for Jamie Sharp, 5th for Jack Wolfram, who also is the leading Northern and Super Classic car in the P class, but also essentially running as an invitation car in some respects for the national championship, because he can only score points towards 1 in each race. And he's chosen the Northern Championship this weekend, so he will contest the 3rd race, but he won't be scoring points towards it. He'll be an invitation driver for that race, as he is mainly registered for the Northern Championship this weekend. There is Jack, son of Ian Wolfenden, who himself is a prominent Formula Ford racer, and so those two have raced together on track in different generations of car. So Jack continuing the Wolfenden name in Formula Fords. There's just behind Jamie Sharp there, who is someone who previously raced in Formula Ford, but Formula 4, British Formula 4, but has now moved to Formula Ford instead, and has been learning his craft there ever since. Still a young driver, plenty for him to learn and develop as he continues on. And Chris Middlehurst there was getting quite defensive on the exit of the Rocket Complex. He was trying to weave this way now to break the toe that Max Esterson might have had. As they turn in through Peel Corner, Esterson still pushing on. He was a little bit disappointed with not getting the victory yesterday, but 2nd place is still pretty crucial, and he's still banking points, a strong amount of points where possible. Middlehurst, of course, has some ground to make up after he had a non-finish at Donington Park after he had an issue, and also got tagged into a spin on that race. Wasn't the ideal start for him to his season, but he has managed to bounce back, and he took a 2nd place and then a win at Knock Hill before getting another victory, his 2nd of the year at Middlehurst. Actually, yesterday was his 3rd then, so forgive me, I got that stat wrong. So 3 wins under his belt already this year. He wants to make it a 4th, but I wonder if Max Esterson's got a lot more designs to try and get one himself. He wants his 3rd win of the year. Both, of course, on 2 now at the moment for the season. Head through turn 1. Back towards the banking once again. And Esterson just trying to find an avenue, find a gap to squeeze through here. Should be able to get a nice toe here. Alex Walker's kind of on his own in 3rd place. Not quite the pace he'd like to be, but still plugging away. Still Jamie Sharp 4th. Jack Wolford in 5th. Here's the fight for 6th. There's now, this is Thomas Mills under threat from, so Lucas Romanek under threat from Colin Queen. Colin's made some big progress this weekend. He's qualified in 4th place. Is now battle for the lead is now on between Esterson and Middlehurst. As Esterson looks again to the outside line, is he going to force Middlehurst a little deep on the exit for the 2nd part of Rocket? Defends it neatly through the apex of the corner, and now as they come up towards Peel once again, Esterson just trying this way and that. Then looks up the inside of the Peel corner. Middlehurst tries to shut the door, but he has to give him room on the exit. And Max Esterson with a daring pass temporarily has his nose in front, but Middlehurst will come back at him into the left-hander at Siemens. He'll try to at least. Looks like Etterson's left the door open slightly, and Middlehurst will try and come back alongside him. Etterson's got his nose in front and will hold on to the lead, and the move is not quite completely done yet, because Middlehurst will try and come back at him on the outside to get the undercut, exiting the hairpin. And if he can't do that, which I don't think he can, Etterson has made it through. So Max Etterson, a young American, the championship leader coming into the weekend, is hit the front here at Anglesey in this second race for the National and Northern Formula 4 Championships. The combined grid for this morning's race, it'll be a separate standalone national race later on, as we mentioned. But Max Etterson hits the front. He's into the lead here at Anglesey, looking to go for his third win of the season, after picking up his first two in the UK last time out a few weeks ago at Silverstone. It's the banking this time, and the hunter now becomes the hunted, because whilst it was Etterson staring at the gearbox of Chris Middlehurst, now he's got clear air in front of him, and he'll be keeping one eye on his mirrors this time, whereas Alex Walker will be watching on, trying to make progress. It's a scene there, I think Lucas Romanek is just ahead of Megan Gilchrist now, so he's lost out to Colin Queen, who's now moved up to 6th position, another of the young Americans. There's the 31 of John Murphy, who's the top car in the Super Classic classes. Meanwhile, Middlehurst is looking back for the lead into the Rocket Complex. It was a run out of Church Corner then, down the back straight on a slipstream up towards the top of the hill, up at the left-hander. Middlehurst managed to pick his way back through, so got a fight on our hands here, and I wonder if Alex Walker will try and get his nose in front. Little twitch there, whether it's not sure there was a touch or not up at the apex of Peel, but Etterson really is throwing everything he can at Chris Middlehurst, and if they're both not careful, look at who's sailing up behind them. It's Alex Walker. So these three really are the three men who look to be in contention for the championship here, battling all season long. 3 different teams, 3 different chassis. Wonderful to see. And look at how evenly matched it is. We've got a Van Diemen, a Ray and a Spectrum, 3 very different drivers, 3 very different experience levels. And yet all of them are driving in an equal pace, and a fantastic equal battle here between them all. They're 3 different teams as well. Team Dolan prepares the Van Diemen of Chris Middlehurst. It's Lowe Dempsey who prepares the Ray for Max Etterson, and then it's the Kevin Mills Ray prepared Spectrum for Alex Walker. And yet all 3 of them appear to be very evenly matched. It already does come down to driver skill when it comes to Formula 4. The car can have some kind of a factor, but usually they're so evenly matched in pace, regardless of the difference in chassis, but they will be quite a lot of parity in terms of the performance levels, and it's all down to driver skill. And the likes of Middlehurst and Etterson and Walker have a bit more skill and abundance than maybe some others on the grid. That's not to be disrespectful at all, just it shows that in terms of their pace they are the class of the field. Coming up to put a lap on Nick Barnes here, I think, in the 105 in the Swift FB89. And Walker's now closed in under braking, heading up through the complex to the left and right at Rocket. Let's do a quick time check. It's a 15-minute race. We have got left on the clock on the timing screen after we've completed 6 laps. It's on lap 7 here, 4.5 minutes to go. So not long to go in this race. Walker now gets a chance to get a double toe from the 2 cars in front for the first time. And now it's a 3-way scrap for the lead. Middlehurst, Etterson and Walker, all 3 of them race winners so far this year, and looking to try and pick up another one. It'll be, ironically, it'll be Alex Walker's 4th, and it'll be either Etterson or Middlehurst's 3rd win of the season. So each of them want to add to their tally and try and grab some more points back. But how incredible is this? All 3 of them all together, as if they're all driving exactly the same car. Half a second covers them as they come across the line. Jamie Sharp still 4th. That'll be one of his personal best results in National Formula 4. Jack Wolfenden is by far and away the top Northern Super Classic registered driver, so he will be up in 5th position and take a very commanding P-Class win. He'll be able to claw a lot of points on the leader of the P-Class in Northern Super Classic coming into the weekend, which was Nigel Dolan and his 2012 spec Van Diemen. He's not here this weekend, so he will have to lose those points. And you can see Middlehurst is trying just to break the toe as much as he can from Etterson, but Max is quite smart to that. He knows exactly what's going on. As they come back in through the Rocket Complex again, they're still nose to tail. There's 4th and 5th, Jamie Sharp and Jack Wolfenden. Jack having a superb run so far, keeping up with the top national competitors this weekend. Wasn't quite on exactly the same pace when he raced at Donington at the opening rounds back in May, but certainly here at a circuit he's a bit more familiar with, having raced at it a bit more regularly. Seems to be working. The downhill sweep through the left-hander at Siemens, now down the hill again towards the Right-hander at the top end of the Tom Price straight, back round the hairpin. 3.5 minutes to go now in this race. The three cars seem to be in a bit of a stalemate at the moment. Whether or not there's going to be a change here with now 2 and a bit minutes to go. That's the question. Then Esterson is a little bit impatient, looking again, putting himself into his mirrors, into the mirrors of Middlehurst, is trying to find a way through. Make his way through here. 4th and 5th for Jamie Sharp. As I say, he used to run as part of his own team in British Formula 4, but then switched across to Formula Ford, and he's been pretty much a mainstay in recent years BM racing the last couple of seasons with the Andy Brickles and MacArthur run squad. Edson getting a little bit impatient here, possibly trying to find a way through. I suspect they'll go on to a last lap shortly, because I'll check my timing screen again. It was showing 1 minute 50 there, but it might well be a little bit closer to about 1.5 minutes. So down back into Seaman again. It's quite a tricky corner to judge here. It's slightly, never slightly banked, but the momentum that you can carry as you swing through it is quite strong. So they've got 1 minute and 5 to go. So this will be the last lap they go on to next time across the line. And so Middlehurst then doing quite a fine job, but Esterton's not really attacking too much since he got repassed up into the complex. I wonder if he's just keeping his powder dry to go for an assault on the last lap. Middlehurst again, middle of the road, trying to defend from the Americans. They turn back into the bus stop once more. They should get the last lap board. And Esterson knows, again, it has to be now or never. He wants to make this move and get the victory. He has to do it now. Into turn 1. Walker keeps a watching brief in 3rd place in the Kevin Mills Racing Spectrum. Back into the banking. His best chance, surely, has to be getting a super exit here for the banking, staying close all the way through Church, and then getting the run down the back straight through School to try and make the pass into the Rocket Complex. Let's see. Is he close enough to get the toe? Maybe not. I'm not sure he is. I think maybe Middlehurst has got a bit too much for him. I think he's got enough here to hold on. Back towards the Rocket Complex for the last time. And still, there's no way through for Esterson. Walker holding on to 3rd, knowing he can pick up the pieces if something happens between these two in the last few corners. Half a lap to go. And Middlehurst looks on course to take his 2nd win of the weekend, his 4th of the season. So put him as the most successful driver of the season, because no one's won more than 3 races this year. And out of Siemens, down the Tom Price straight, back towards the hairpin. Walker's challenge seems to have faded in the closing stages. He's not really going to make it as Esterson closes back up and goes a little too deep into the hairpin. That might have just scuppered his challenge once and for all. Getting a little bit, not desperate, but a bit sort of almost eager to try and make a move. He's got 1 more corner to go unless he makes a big dive down the outside. I can't see it happening, and it's not going to work. He'll have to settle for 2nd best, because for the 2nd time this weekend and for the 4th time in 2021, it's a National Formula Ford win for Chris Middlehurst as he punches the air with delight and he takes the maximum score of points. It's 2nd for Max Esterson and 3rd again for Alex Walker, and this time he will get to keep his 3rd place because there's no penalty for him this time by. 4th place, an excellent result, goes to Jamie Sharp. 5th, and the Northern Super Classic win goes to Jack Wolfenden. It's 6th place for Colin Queen, 7th for Megan Gilchrist, 8th for Lucas Romanek, 9th for Thomas Mills from the back of the grid. Andre Lafont rounds out the top 10 ahead of Callum Grant and Benjamin Cochran. Then we'll see John Murphy come through next. He should then take the Super Classic A victory. He comes across the line now, so congratulations. No, it's not actually. No, John Murphy hasn't come across the line. So John Murphy has not come across the line. In fact, it's out of the Super Classic cars. First car across the line is the Class Super Classic B winner, Gareth Buckingham. So Gareth comes across and he wins, and it's now also a victory of Paul Mason. So what has happened to John Murphy on the final lap is unfortunate, but he's lost the Super Classic A lead. Hasn't come through yet either. He's still showing us going down the timing stream. 2nd place in Class A goes to the 51 of I think it's one of the Barnes. I wanted to say possibly Jonathan, but I don't want to speculate on that too much. It is 51 is Paul Barnes, And then it's third place in that class for Paul Tucker, so he gets that one there. That's where John Murphy, he stopped on the last lap. Oh, what a shame for John Murphy. He was leading Super Classic A right till the last lap of the race, and then a mechanical issue, unfortunately, sees him grind to a halt before he gets to Church Corner. Oh, that's a shame. Well, John Murphy will have to that's his weekend done, I'm afraid, so it wasn't going to be 2 from 2 for him in Super Classic A. He'll have to come back next time at the if he is out, for the third of 4 meetings at Mallory Park this year, part of the Star of Mallory contest. But John decides to unclip himself and clamber out of the car, which means there'll be a couple of minutes whilst they recover his car back to pit lane. Because you might have some time to have a proper chat to our top 3. As they make their way back into Parc Fermé after that race. So, as you mentioned, the Northern Super Classic drivers are done for the weekend. Their next outing is their third visit of the year at the beginning of August to Mallory Park. As Chris Middlehurst gives a double thumbs up. He's still got one more race to do, and then the next round should be coming up at essentially the home of Formula Ford, which is Brands Hatch in August. So that will be the next rounds for National Formula Ford. But as we say, still one more race for them to go this year. There is Max Esterson, helmet off.
I can't hug you yet.
He would have.
Don't cry.
I think Jamie getting a bit affectionate there, I think, on the microphone I can hear. So, but yeah, good job for the top 3. And I think we can now have a chat to our top 3 for National Formula Fords, as he's down there with Jamie in the pit in Parc Fermé with our top 3, including Chris Middlehurst.
A fantastic second race for the Avon Tyres National Formula 4 1600 Championship. Chris Middlehurst, 2 out of 2, but Max wasn't making it easy for you, was he?
Absolutely not, no. It was close all race, having to defend really, so it was hard to sort of defend and trying to obviously pull a gap really. So a few times I managed to, and then obviously Slipstream was very strong around here, down the back straight obviously, and towards the hairpin as well. But a very good run through Church every lap. I managed to sort of get that gap on him so that he could sort of tope to the back of me, but he couldn't really pass. So whereas I could on the second lap or third lap when he got past me. So there's nothing between us. It's just a case of who's in front and who can stay there really. Their car's strong at the top section, ours is stronger at the first section, so it just depends on the chassis and the settings. But made it with 2 wins. It's brilliant weekend so far.
Excellent stuff. Well, mate, we'll let you go and get some water. Second place was Maxwell Esterson. You tried everything, didn't you? But it was nevertheless another second place. Race 3, you're going to try and go for one better again, aren't you?
Yeah, hopefully. It's a little closer this time. Got by him for 1 lap, but then just didn't have a good enough run on the straight, and he could clear me by the next braking zone, so couldn't do much more there. But just happy with another second. It's good points.
It's so hard, isn't it? You've got to try and be within that sort of 3/10 window so you can get the toe, especially going up into Rocket. But if you get Church just slightly wrong, you're a sitting duck for behind you as well, aren't you?
Yeah, Chris is really strong in that section, turn 1, 2 and 3, so makes it difficult to pass into Rocket. But the rest of the track I'm a bit quicker, but yeah, his car is very good at the start of the lap.
Okay, well done to Maxwell Esterson. Third place was Alex Walker. Alex, you were right with them, and you were probably thinking, right, these two are going to take each other out now, and we'll capitalise on the win. But again, a great podium for you.
Yeah, no, it was a bit of a better race than yesterday because obviously we started further back because of the penalty.
Oh, okay.
I got 2 on the first lap, and then from there I was just trying to catch them. I couldn't quite keep up, but thanks to the toe I was kind of keeping up down the straight. But yeah, no, they both drove really well to keep it out the wall, to be fair to them. I thought they were coming together a few times, but no, we kind of did what we could do. And I don't know, reverse grid, I think it's like we're either starting 6th, 7th or 8th, so we'll see how it goes then.
Okay, fantastic, well done. That was your top 3 for the Avon Tyres National Formula Ford 1600 Championship. Next up is the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Super Cup. So we'll hand you back to Scott Woodwis, who will take you through the grid for this mammoth 35 car entry.
Yes, indeed. Back to Mazda MX-5 action now. More Formula Fords coming up later, as we said, with our third National Formula Ford race. But time to carry on what's been so far the next chapter in what's been an epic BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Super Cup season, as they come down the assembly area and back out onto the circuit once more for their second race of the weekend, which was had its moments yesterday. Had some quite fantastic battles all the way through the field, but it was a second win of the year for Sam Smith, who will be once again, by the looks of things, on the front row of the grid once more. The grid for this race is set by the second fastest times of qualifying yesterday, which means that it looks as though it's going to be Jack Harding who took away at Silverstone on pole position once again. They're all filtering their way out of assembly, and here's some ripple of applause in the background. I think there's the Formula 4 podium going on, I think, that you can hear just as going on. So whilst they're celebrating the results there, the MX-5 Super Cup cars are winding their way out of the assembly area and onto the grid. 35 cars on the grid for this one, as Jamie mentioned. And towards the back you can see, I think we've got Clive Chisnell and Lewis Walton, two of our drivers in the club class. A bit of a slightly delayed start because we're recovering John Murphy's car from the circuit after it pulled up on the last lap. You can see there our first few rows of the grid all raring to go. And as we said, this grid set by the second fastest times in qualifying, which a couple of tweaks. There's been a couple of grid penalties been put in as well for a couple of drivers. Car 6, which is Richard Amos, has had a grid penalty, and also so has car 41, which is Tom Smith. So those two cars were starting further back than they would have been originally. So here's the grid then for race number 2 of the Mazda MX-5 Super Cup of the weekend. It is Jack Harding who starts on pole position by virtue of his best second fastest time. He'll start alongside race 1 winner yesterday, Sam Smith, in car number 1. It's Patrick Fletcher and John Langridge on the second row of the grid again, from James Cousins and Will Blackwell Chambers. Then Richard Amos, who incredibly, no, he shouldn't be 7th, he should be, he's further back on the grid. It's Braden Fletcher who should be 7th on the grid. And then it's Paul Sheard in 8th, because I think Richard Amos has got a 10th place grid penalties, he's further back. So it's Braden Fletcher 7th, Paul Sheard 8th. But we'll talk you through the rest of the grid as we go through. So it should be 9th place for Luke Whitworth, 10th for Nicholas Dunn, 11th for Tom Selden, 12th for Clive Powles, 13th for Nick Rutter ahead of Martin Canning, then James Warrior and Lee Britton. Then 17th is where you find Richard Amos ahead of Kevin Sylvain in 18th place. Then we go to Lee Britton in 19th place, so 16th ahead of them Richard Kevin Sylvain and Martin Tolliver, and then Tom Smith. But it's Xavier Brooke and Declan Lee, Christopher Richardson and Matt Pickford, followed by George Grant and Simon Fleet, Alex Miller, Will Morris, Bruce Robinson and Seamus Haney to round out the top 30, and then Stephen Yu, Martin Heath, Scott Wright, Clive Chisnell and Liz Walton. So all 35 cars, we believe at least, we think, are back out on the track, because we speculate, because there was, of course, the incident, if you watched yesterday, where Richard Amos unfortunately lost control of his car under braking into the complex at the Rocket, and the unfortunate driver which he collected was Nick Dunn. So both cars were out on the spot, and then we had to have a late sort of mid-race safety car in order to get things together. Now Richard Amos's car, which is just going through into Rocket, the white car heading out of it now, that car is back on the grid. In terms of Nick Dunn, he should be starting in P10. Let's look at the order. So there's Jack Harding, there's Sam Smith and Patrick Fletcher, there's John Langridge, James Cousins, Will Blackwell Chambers, then it's Braden Fletcher, that is Paul Sheard, and yes, he is there. So Nick Dunn there with the Mazda MX-5, the white and orange car with the red front. That is Nick Dunn. So incredible work by both BC Cars Motorsport for Richard Amos and Paul Sheard Autosport for Nick Dunn to get both of those cars back out, and we still have a full quota of 35 Superkart cars, which is excellent to see. So the championship battle so far is mainly between these three cars on screen: Jack Harding number 43, defending champion Sam Smith number 1, and Patrick Fletcher number 29. They, along with James Cousins in the blue, orange and black car which went through the shot there, number 24, have all taken at least one race win this year. Patrick Fletcher has 3 to his name. Smith, as courtesy of yesterday, now has 2, and Jack Harding and James Cousins both have 1. So they'll be looking to take full advantage of that as best they can, as the cars weave their way from side to side. Other drivers to watch, of course, are going to be John Langridge in 4th position, the grey and white car with the green headlights. That car, he's in his first race weekend with a new team, because after unfortunately, we learned of the demise of the Blink Motorsport squad, sadly. So hopefully, everyone involved is doing well. that team, he's now switched teams across to Hills Motorsport. So he's now teammates with the likes of James Cousins and Declan Lee, and also the driver who's not here, Adam Bezel, and they're really feeling an impact because he's already put the car fourth on the grid for both races, and he looked pretty strong yesterday with a couple of a top five. Also watch for Will Blackwell-Chambers, who's been a former Mark 1 rival of John Language and a former double champion in Mark 1s, started to find his groove now. He was quite happy coming from 16th on the grid to 6th yesterday, felt really good with the car, so now he's starting higher up the grid now, in 6th. He might well make a bigger impact and could even be a contender for a strong top 5, maybe even a podium if he makes a good start now. Paul Sheard also making one of his welcome cameos back onto the grid. Usually he's running several cars in the paddock, but he started to jump into one of his own cars for this weekend in car number 118. He starts from 8th on the grid. And also watch out for some of the top drivers who are a bit further up the grid. Tom Selden's had a good run so far. He's in the Luke Herbert car for his Luke Herbert team racing machine. So, race number 2 here at Anglesey, all set to get underway for the Mazda MX-5 Supercar. Is it going to be 2 from 2 for Sam Smith, or will his rivals manage to beat him into submission and take a victory? Well, Jack Harding's managed to get the jump on from the front row, from pole position into the race leaders. They turn through turn 1 for the first time. They're already 3 abreast of the mid-pack between Xavier Brook, Tom Smith and Declan Lee. It's probably not going to work. Someone's going to have to take to the grass, and someone did a little bit further in front, but they all pile their way into the banking for the first time, and it's Jack Harding who leads then, Sam Smith in 2nd place, Patrick Fletcher 3rd, and it's 4th for John Language, and up to 5th already past James Cousins has gone with Blackwell-Chambers as the pack heads their way through Church. And look at the way Sam Smith already is on the prowl. He's on it now, isn't he? Look at this, going to the inside line and immediately not hanging around, side by side for Willie, down through the school corner for the first time as the pack charged its way through the back straight towards the complex, and down the outside goes Sam Smith for the lead. 2 of the 3 championship contenders looking for it, but Sam Smith's run wide. He runs too deep, gets oversteer on the exit of the corner, and just slots in front of Patrick Fletcher, who nearly collected him. There's cars in the background going every which way as they go deep on the runoff area behind, and I think something's happened behind, we think, because the camera's gone all over the place. What's happened? Oh, one car's gone around. That's Luke Whitworth who's been tagged. So Luke Whitworth gets back going again, but he's down to last and 35th positions to try and make up some more positions. So moving through go the leaders. One car that's lost out from the start is James Cousins, starts in 5th position, down to about 8th because he's lost out by a couple of spots. Also involved, it appears to be, is the 13 car, that's Tom Selden. That is the ex-championship winning Luke Herbert car, which Luke took to 3 titles in the last few years, but he's now dropped down the order, as now Luke has now gone to becoming a team boss rather than a driver, and now Tom Selden gets the responsibility of being the man that drives the ex-championship winning car, which is quite daunting, but certainly trying to do the best, and he might have got involved in some incidents before the start of the race. There goes James Cousins up the inside of Paul Sheard into the left-hander at the bus stop. And also, when they're still looking pretty strong, is Nick Dunn, who will be just relieved to be running again after he was tagged by a slightly out of control Richard Amos at the start of, in the middle of yesterday's first race. So the end of the first lap here at Anglesey for the MX-5 Supercup. Harding leads the way by 0.4 of a second from Sam Smith in 2nd place, and it's Patrick Fletcher 3rd, John Language 4th, and he's about to get into it with his old sparring partner for the Mark 1s, Will Blackwell-Chambers. He's had a good start up to 5th, 1 spot from where he started. Braden Fletcher's having a great weekend so far in terms of getaways from the line. He's in the Paddock Motorsport prepared car in 6th. Paul Sheard up to 7th, James Cousins is in 8th position, Nick Dunn is 9th, and Clive Powers, who is currently the top club class driver, rounds out the top 10 runners at the moment. Going deep into the corner against John Langridge, and he might well lose the 4th place from Will Blackwell-Chambers. I think he might have gone deep into that corner to get the inside for the next one, but what it's done with Blackwell-Chambers trying to attack is allowed Braden Fletcher up the inside and goes, thank you, Will, I'll take that if you don't mind, up into 5th position. So good stuff from Braden. Of course, his older brother Kelvin, along with fellow Paddock Motorsport team boss Martin Plowman, are at Donington Park this weekend running their own Bentley GT3 car in the British GT Championship. The 2nd weekend they've been running it after taking it over from JRM. So best of luck to those two at Donington Park this weekend, but their squad also out in action here at Anglesey in the MX-5 Supercup and the MX-5 Clubman Championship. They've got Dan Blake on their books as well. We'll see them up next to the Clubman Championship as the pack again makes its way out of the hairpin back towards the bus stop once more for the end of lap number 2. 20-minute race. We've had 3.5 minutes already, so everyone's starting to settle in now to a nice pace. And also making some progress from where he started on the grid is Richard Amos there, just the white car at the back of the field. He's the car that looks identical to the one that's currently in 2nd place with Sam Smith at the wheel, both teammates. Richard Amos at the moment is, I think, pace-wise so far this year, comfortably the fastest club class driver in the field. So Harding's gap is now for still 0.3 of a second. Sam Smith now takes the fastest lap of the race, the first proper flying lap at racing speeds. Still Fletcher second, Langridge still fourth, Fletcher up to fifth now, as in Braden Fletcher. Arsenal Blackwell Chambers, who's down to sixth. James Cousins is back up to seventh, past Paul Sheard. Then Nick Dunn and Clive Powell. And Richard Amos making progress already up to 11th. He's passed Kevin Sylvain. And now his next target will be Clive Powell, who's immediately in front of him. He will looking to take full advantage as they come back into the Rocket Complex now for the third time. All the cars here, Mark III MX-5s. Will run the same spec Avon tyres. They run gas shocks. They run, I think, an open exhaust system. All a dedicated ECU remap as well, to make sure they all run as evenly as possible. And you do get some cars that will either run the Mark III or what's called the Mark 3.5 facelifted front bumpers. So you can tell the differences with the slightly more aggressive, sort of sharper, pointier headlights and the wider front grille. That's the 3.5 car, the example of which is Richard Amos getting past the Mark III front bumpered Clive Powell's car, and that's a change for the club class lead. So into the club class lead from deep in the pack goes Richard Amos. Meanwhile, Jack Harding coming under quite immense pressure from Sam Smith here as they come out of the left-hander onto the pit straight to start lap 4. And so far that lap last time by, Smith was about a tenth quicker, so fairly, but that said, fairly evenly matched between them at the moment. Jack Harding, of course, has come so close to the championship. He started properly racing in the Supercup back in 2015, but since 2016 has pretty much become a prominent front runner, and since then several times, apart from last year when he only made a single cameo appearance at Donington Park where he still won a race, he's been trying year after year to win the MX-5 Super Cup, and he's either had just so much adversity from the likes of Tom Roach and James Blake Baldwin and Luke Herbert and other top drivers that just have been quite evenly matched, and just being able to grab the results when Jack's had bad luck, the results that has gone this way. And where's Will Blackwell Chambers off to? Will Blackwell Chambers either outbrakes himself or has a complete failure of something, but off the road goes number 18. And I have to admit, I thought it was Will Blackwell Chambers that went off yesterday. It was actually Richard Amos, of course, that had the incident with Nick Dunn. But where on earth was he off to? Will Blackwell Chambers recovers onto the circuit. I think he's even got back on the road exactly where he was. So yeah, he's only lost one spot. So he's actually rejoined a position behind where he went off, which was back in... He was starting for lap in 6th, rejoined in 7th. He's only lost one position. So he recovers, and I'm not sure that's quite the way he took the Rocket Complex, but Will certainly have give himself a fright after that, and then got going again. And then possibly Nick Dunn wasn't too far behind either. I must have thought, oh no, not again, not what happened in race 1 yesterday. But thankfully it hasn't, and Will Blackwell Chambers took straight onto the grass to make sure that he was getting in the way of no one. At the moment, Sam Smith is finding Jack Harding in his way right now, and he wants to try and get past for a lead if he can. Still staying in close contention. We were saying about how Jack Harding has come close to the championship year after year and been denied it several times, but he might be denied the lead here as he comes through turn 1. Might get slightly elbowed wide on the exit of the left-hander towards the banking. Harding will have the inside line for the next corner. He stuck it out around the outside through the left-hander. But now as they turn right, exiting the banking back onto the straight, and 2 was on the grass for Sam Smith. He's not giving up this outside line, is he? He's really going for it on the outside, down towards the right-hander at Church. Nose to tail for the lead between Jack Harding, one of the most successful drivers in the Super Cup. He's got the most podiums in Super Cup history out of anyone else, whereas Sam Smith is the defending champion with number 1 on the door and on the windscreen. He's going for number 1 in the race. Round the outside on the inside of a school corner, but you're on the outside line for the left hand of the complex at Rocket, and straight on out braking, so they both outbrake themselves into the Rocket complex, looking at each other. And that patch effector thinks, hold on boys, I want to play with this one too. So it's now 3 for the lead between the 3 main championship contenders early on in this race. This is a superb race it's turned into. It was quite a calm first half of the race. Now all of a sudden it's gone straight up all the way up to 11. This is brilliant stuff. So Sam Smith then takes the lead. There was no contact between them either, so just simply both of them watching each other, forgot their braking points, and both drifted off wide. And Patrick Fletcher thought it must be Christmas and his birthday come all at once. Down the back straight on the Tom Price straight, and up to 4th in the back corner, I can also tell you, is Braden Fletcher. So what a great run he's having in the number 10 Paddock Motorsport car. There he is. Well, he was 4th, but there goes John Langridge repassing him into the hairpin. So that's a nice little battle going on here. But if these 3 in front can carry on scrapping amongst each other, and if these 2 can work together in 4th and 5th, it might be a 5-car scrap for the lead. See Will Blackwell Chambers in the white and red car in the background, just behind James Cousins in 6th position. Looks like he's suitably recovered after his problems outbraking himself at Rocket. So, about 11 minutes to go in this race. We're not even hit halfway in this Superkart race, and there's been some great action already. So it's Sam Smith now hits the front. Jack Harding closes back up through the banking. He might get a nice toe here and try and get himself back past Sam Smith here. There's Patrick Fletcher, 3-time winner this year, took 2 victories at Croft, 1 at Silverstone. Hasn't won a race and wasn't able to come up with a victory yesterday. Finished 3rd behind these two. Jack Harding still in the slipstream. Also, John Langridge having a strong race in 4th. He now has Braden Fletcher keeping him company now after those two briefly swapped positions. And they've both made the corner this time, which is a relief. So I'm sure both Luke Herbert, who's watching on preparing Jack Harding, and Brian Chandler, who's watching on for Sam Smith, probably had hearts in their mouths when that happened a lap ago. But thankfully their blood pressure's gone down a bit better this time, so we're not causing them heart palpitations this time. Both skating off the road. I should mention, of course, Jack Harding, one of his main rivals over the last few years, has been Luke Herbert. And there was a point when they weren't really that fond of each other, but they seem to have put that all beyond them, and now they've decided to work together. Because before the start of the season, Jack Harding was going to run with Paddock Motorsport, but then on the eve of the first race of the season, on the Friday night, he actually switched teams late to Luke Herbert Racing, of all the teams he would have chosen, and amazingly it seems to have paid off. So, and off the road's gone George Grant. Off the road's gone George Grant in car 69. The Clapham North machine is off the road. I can't quite tell exactly where that is, but I think first and foremost that's the sight we want to see. George Grant out of the car. It looks as though he's given the tyres a bit of a thump. So out strides George. Over the tyres he clambers, and he seems to be at least on the surface okay. I'm sure he'll quickly go to the medical office just to be quickly checked over to make sure he is A-OK. As that happens, I'm sure we'll get a yellow flag at wherever that incident took place. I want to say it's possibly, I can't quite tell exactly where it is. It's either here at Church or it's up at Peel, one of the two. But either way, right, yellow flags, I think it's on the exit of Church, if that's where the yellow flags are. So yeah, no passing on that part, but they might be able to get green flags on the approach into the Rocket Complex. So Jack Harding did have to back off a little bit to ensure he was staying within the rules. Patrick Fletcher in a bit of no man's land in 3rd, but he might get joined by both John Langridge and Braden Fletcher shortly, because he hasn't quite kept pace with the top two. Leaders head through. Oops, off the road's gone another one of the Luke Herbert racing cars. That's Lee Britton, who's coming to the series this year fresh from karting. So a baptism of fire, bounds his way back onto the circuit. That is exiting Church, and just before school actually, on the back straight. So either that's been contact with somebody, or he simply just lost it on the back end, exiting Church on the grass, and the car's rotated onto the infield. But either way, it looks like he's got back going again, trouble-free. So it's a bit tricky out there for some drivers in this second race, as Will Blackwood Chambers looks with a little sneaky peek up the inside of James Cousins. They're going to go side by side for 6th as they come down towards the left-hander at the bus stop, but James Cousins slots back in front and says, well, Blackwood Chambers, you have to try again next time. Out through the bus stop again. Now down towards the left-hander at turn 1. James Cousins, who's quite a sensation ever since he joined the MX-5 paddock with Hills Motorsport, starting the Super Series, took a couple of strong results there. It's made his debut at the end of the 2019 season in the SuperCup, and actually scored a really couple of solid results. And then last year showed his premise in the field as well. Nick Dunn's looking strong this weekend as well, one of his better weekends too. Now that's interesting, in the club class you're spotted there, Clive Powers has got back past Richard Amos, so that car's not as fast as it was, or previously was, maybe last time out at Silverstone, or maybe it's a small legacy from what happened yesterday in the first race when he had that off and collision with Nick Dunn. Here's two Masters, Nick Rutter against Paul Shear, and Nick almost kind of moved across a bit too soon there, and Paul Shear might have thought he was going on the grass for a second, and Nick Rutter going a little wide again, taking that wider exit on the first part of the corner, but then holds firm on the inside for the second apex for Rocket as it turns with the right-hander to defend that inside line. Of course, then if you take a tight entry into that first part, you get to sit yourself on the racing line for the second part. So you have to kind of pick your moment. Yeah, I think it's Martin Tolley and Martin Canning having a good battle there, I think, with Kevin Sylvain and Declan Lee. So the two Go For It racing cars scrapping away with one of the Hills Motorsport machines. There's Nick Dunn with the red front bumper. There's our club class lead. And then here is Nick Rutter versus Paul Shear. There's Kevin Sylvain in the green car behind. He's taken the victory already this year in the club class before. He's the ex-Superstock 1000 bike racer. He's gone from 2 wheels to 4 and enjoying life so far in the SuperCup. Another one of the BC Cars Motorsport squad. There's behind them the pair of Go For It racing cars sandwiching Declan Lee. Just behind them is Tom Smith. And he's at the moment in a battle so far with Alex Miller in car number 7. Rest of the field goes through. We've got 5.5 minutes to go in this second MX5 Super Cup race of the weekend. Someone's run wide on the exit of the first corner before the banking. Declan Lee a little bit further back than he'd like to be, back in 15th. Has been a regular top 5 and top 10 runner in earlier races, not just this year, but last year as well. Not really having, so far, the start to his day he was wishing for. He's graduated out of karting quite a young age into the MX5 a couple of years ago. And since then, it's just developed steadily. Joined Hills Motorsport. I think it was from last year. And of course, he's been with them again this year as well. New green paint scheme on that car as well. And having a good little scrap here with Martin Tolley. He's a stalwart of the MX5 paddock. He's been around for quite a while. Raced Mark 1s for several years. Then jumped into the Super Cup last year. And enjoying a new challenge in this one. He's in 14th at the moment. Meanwhile, Nick Rutter it looks like he's repassed Paul Shear, because Paul Shear looks like he got back through. But then Rutter's managed to make it past and into that position. So, change around for them. Meanwhile, with the leaders, Smith and Harding sort of separated by 0.6 of a second. So, as we see Kevin Sylvain having a little speculative look up the inside, and I think he tried up the inside. Shear tried to close the door as much as he could, but give him enough room to try and sneak up the inside if he wanted to. There's Tom Smith and Alex Miller just behind them. Tom Smith is the blue and white car ahead of the black and gold of Alex Miller. And meanwhile, just ahead of them, it's Shear then, and the 118 is in the mix. Here's our leaders. Still Sam Smith ahead of Jack Harding. Jack's not right on the tail of Sam Smith like he was before, but I think ultimately he just wants to try and bank as many points as he can to hold on to this lead. So Sam Smith, who does have the fastest lap of the race, so he will get 102 points for that. 101 points for that one, because he'll get it's a single point for fastest lap. So it'll be, if he finishes this race, he'll be on 789. Jack Harding gets another 98 points for this one. He'll be on 779, which means that the points lead will go up to 10 to Sam Smith if it stays as it is. And then Patrick Fletcher, currently sat in 3rd place, will get 96 points. He'll be on 766. John Langridge, if he finishes 4th, will get 94, which will put him on to 704. Braden Fletcher will be on, I'll work him out in a second. James Cousins will be on 90 points for his 6th position, so he was 4th, he's now 745. So at the moment, even though there's a few more different positions in some drivers in the top 5 and 6, it's not really going to change the top 5 very much. It's not going to change the top 5 at all. It'll still be, after this race, if it stays as it is, Sam Smith ahead of Jack Harding, Patrick Fletcher 3rd in points from James Cousins and John Langridge. The spread between the top 5 will be, 75 points between them. 789 for Sam Smith compared to 704 in 5th position for John Langridge on his overall score. But Sam Smith's lead, if it stays as it is, as we said, will increase by 10. Patrick Fletcher will be, compared to Sam Smith, will be 23 points back with 766. So some work to do. But Sam Smith is doing everything he needs to make sure that by season's end, all the work he's putting in now ensures he keeps the number 1 on the door and can essentially keep the car looking exactly the same as it is this year. No need to change even the numbers. But I know for a fact that Jack Harding, that's Richard Amos off the road. That's the teammate to Sam Smith in the club class, and Richard he's already for watching his rivals giving him a nod, saying, "All right, boys, enjoy the rest of the race." But that's a shame, I'm afraid. Mechanical issues, Richard Amos. I wonder if it's a legacy of the contact from yesterday, because we'd say he wasn't as quick as he was in previous time. I did wonder if maybe it was something that was still lingering from his contact. There's his teammate in the pro class, Sam Smith, who leads. Can be quite confusing. You have to look out for the numbers on the car, because Sam Smith is car number 1, whereas Richard Amos is car number 6. But both of those cars look pretty much identical out on track. They were running together in the early stages of one of the races at Silverstone. It was quite extraordinary to see Richard Amos, who's listed as a club class driver, was up there on pretty much exactly the same pace as his pro class teammate, which is pretty impressive. So what it now means is Clive Powers has maintained the club class lead in the MX-5 Super Cup. He sits at the moment 8th overall. It's a good run for actually for Clive Powers. I'm quite impressed with the fact he's up in P8. Normally outside the top 10, but having a good run so far for Clive. Second in club is now Kevin Sylvain, who won at Croft a couple of months ago at the opening rounds. And then in third place in club, all the way down in 24th place overall, is Noel Robinson ahead of Scott Wright. And then rounding out the top 5 in club is Martin Heath down in 27th place. Last lap here in this second race of the Mazda MX-5 Super Cup here at Anglesey, and it's going to be Sam Smith, it seems, going on for his second win of the weekend and his third win of the year after he was able to pick up that win at Silverstone. He was on the podium all weekend at Croft, got a first win at Silverstone and then a win yesterday, looking on course for a win today. Jack Harding again continues to pursuit. Slightly wide on the exit the first part of the complex, but he's held firm, so it's all looking good so far for Sam Smith, who will certainly be happy with the pace that he's got here this weekend, and he'll certainly hope that the pace that the form he's showing here this weekend is a signal that he really is where he wants to be with the car, with himself, with the team. It's working well. You have to remember, he took the championship last year in the Super Cup, and only his first year of racing Mark 3s. He has been a former contender in the Mark 1 Championship and came close to the Mark 1 title back in 2018, if I remember correctly. But his championship charge ended up in a gravel trap that year at Donington Park. It didn't go that way at all for him in 2020. He managed to go up and pick up the victory in the championship. And so far, his form this weekend is showing he's on course to potentially go ahead and make it a second. Out of the final corner, it'll be a second win of the weekend and a still 100% winning record in Wales this weekend for Sam Smith, who takes victory in race number 2 in the Mazda MX-5 Super Cup. Another second place for Jack Harding and another third place for Patrick Fletcher. Thumb out of the cockpit, he's happy with that, and also so should be John Langridge, P4 for him. Braden Fletcher, one of his personal best results. That's an excellent drive to P5. 6th place goes to James Cousins. He might be a bit not as satisfied with that as you would have hoped. And also for 7th place, how about this? From getting collected by Richard Amos at the complex at Rocket yesterday to 7th place today. Well done to Nick Dunn. Great effort to get that car back out over the night. 8th for Clive Powers, who also wins the club class contingent. And then here comes the cavalry. Nick Rutter in 9th, Martin Tolley 10th, Declan Lee is 11th. Paul Shear got dropped to 12th at the end. Ahead of Martin Canning, Alex Miller and Kevin Sylvain, who's 2nd in the club class. And it's Tom Smith, James Warrior, Christopher Richardson, Xavier Brook and Luke Whitworth. Will Morris is next in 21st in car 177. He's Seamus Haney. We've then got Robinson and Pickford side by side, and it is, I think, Robinson just behind Pickford as they came across the line side by side with 2 teammates. And it'll be Robinson who also takes 3rd place in the club class after taking a podium again yesterday as well. And it's Pickford, Wright, Stephen New, Martin Heath. There is Lee Britton, Tom Selden, who had the spin earlier on to the great Luke Herbert racing car. It's a bit of an eventful second race this morning. And then we had, after Lee Britton, Clive Chisnell, Liz Walton and Tom Selden. And we lost Will Blackwell Chambers, sadly. He pitted right at the end of the race with a mechanical issue. So sadly what would have been potentially 6th position has sadly come to nothing. So that'll be a 0 score for Will Blackwell Chambers, I'm afraid. That's the way he wants to start his day here in the Super Cup after an excellent drive from 16th to 6th. And we lost from that race also Richard Amos from the side of the road. George Grant, we suspect, has hit the tyre barrier, but he was out of the race too. Unfortunately, we lost Simon Fleet too on the same weekend, same lap as George Grant. Now, I don't want to put 2 and 2 together too much, but maybe there was something related there. Maybe not, but it could just be coincidentally on the same lap. But I'm not a steward, or I'm not a steward or a clerk of the course, so I'm not going to speculate, and we'll let them talk it out if it needs to in the steward's office. Anyway, there are winners heading into Parc Fermé. Top 3 once again putting on quite a fantastic show. Some great battling in between, and it was the scrap that between Jack Harding and Sam Smith that defined the race, and certainly helped it to define it for Sam as he was able to collect that second win of the weekend, 3rd of the season, and certainly racking up the points he needs to continue building that lead steadily. Slowly but surely building up the lead, gets the Congratulations from team boss Brian Chandler, who knows all about winning a championship, was Mark 1 MX5 champion in 2015. There's Jack Harding. Who'd have thought it? Rivals over all these years, and now conversing like they've been working together for ages as team boss and team driver. But strange things happen in motorsport, but certainly Jack Harding and Luke Herbert becoming friends and then working together certainly is one of them. But good to see the partnership working well between them. Third place also for Patrick Fletcher again. Good strong form from him so far. Again, remember, Patrick's in an independent team, so he isn't like AB Motorsport or BC Cars or any others, but certainly happy with third place. But we'll find out how happy he and the other top two are in the top three from Jamie Peters, who's down with our top three from the second race here at Anglesey for the Mazda MX5 Super Cup.
So another fantastic BRSCC Mazda MX5 Super Cup race. Your race winner was Sam Smith. Let's bring Sam over. He's done a double so far. Another great race for you.
Yeah, it seemed to go really well, that one. Jack got the jump on me at the start, fair enough, and then I felt pretty comfortable. You know straight away really how comfortable you're going to be, and I felt fairly comfortable, just a matter of getting past him really.
Fantastic. And race 3 coming up, you going to try and do the triple?
I'll do what I can, I'm always here to win, but it's going to rain. I don't like the rain, but we'll see what we can do.
Excellent stuff, well done. Second place was Jack Harding. Jack, you got the jump on the start, but nevertheless it's still a good result for you, but of course race 3 it'll be all guns out to go for the win.
Yeah, you know, I actually preferred that race. I know it's always nice to win, but it was, you know, a good clean race for me and Sam. You know, I looked and brake at the top because we were just so level pegging up there. Every time I got a good run onto the straight, Sam's just a rocket in a straight line. I don't know whether we've got a bit of an issue or what, but when we're in his toe we can't seem to catch, but when he's in ours he's absolutely phenomenal. So I had to keep trying to outbrake him, and obviously it backfired eventually, but car feels alright, you know. Massive thanks to Luke Herbert Racing, they're doing a great job with the car. I just think that we've got a fault somewhere, or we're just a little bit down on power somewhere, so we'll figure it out, and we'll if we don't get the result we want in race 3, I'm sure we'll come back stronger next round. So yeah, all good.
Fantastic, well done Jack. Third place was Patrick Fletcher, and another top 3 for him. He's just sorting his mask out. That was a busy second race for you, wasn't it? You were battling away for the full 20 minutes. I bet that absolutely flew by for you.
Yeah, well, to be honest, Jack got a good start and had the lead of the race, and then I thought it'd be a good race, and to be honest I fell off the back of those two. And then Sam caught Jack up and they had a good battle, good old ding dong. Saw a couple of good moves going into Rocket and a few other parts of the track, and I thought if they keep battling I might be able to get involved, because I didn't feel too strong at the beginning of that race. But to be honest, after that they stopped battling, and Sam just pulled a gap to Jack, and Jack just pulled away from me. And then I saw John Langridge was very quick behind me, so I was just focusing on not making any mistakes and keeping the third position.
So you were trying to be the hunter and be the hunted at the same time?
Yeah, I didn't feel like I was too far in hunt mode at the moment on that race. To be honest, the two in front just had a little bit more than me today. But we'll see what happens in the third race.
Excellent stuff, well done. That's your top 3 for the BRSCC Mazda MX5 Super Cups. Next up, more MX5s from the BRSCC Mazda MX5 Clubman. So I'll hand you back to Scott Woodward, who'll take you through the grid.
Thank you very much, Jamie. Yes, more MX5s coming onto the grid, and for those who have been following us from the start, you'll know that this is a new championship for 2021, the BRSCC Mazda MX5 Clubman Championship, which is, rather than the 2-day 3-race format, it's usually a 1-day 2-race format for this one. It's kind of better for logistics, better for costs in many cases. It's a very cost-effective way to go Mazda MX-5 racing. Brand new format which has been brought in by the BRSCC to cater some of the drivers that wanted a smaller, more compacted day to go racing. And from that, we've managed to get a few drivers. Now, we had about 12 drivers at the opening rounds at Croft. Then we had a grid of about 30 plus at Silverstone. A little bit less for this weekend as well, but the quality of drivers is still there, and we should expect them to jump back up again when we have our next rounds at Stetson at the end of July for the next rounds for rounds 7 and 8 of the 2021 season. So, looking at the grid here, we've got a couple of drivers looking at the qualifying sessions. Harry Storer, who leads the points in the championship, who starts in pole position for race 1 on the grid on screen. Alongside him, one of the drivers who's been a recent convert back to the Clubman Championship, which is Alan Hawkins. So he's been a regular in the main MX5 Championship, but has switched across to the Clubmans for this occasion. Thomas Mallet is on third on the grid. He's one of the invitation class drivers. Alongside him is Charles Boniface, who's good to see back in the mix, the Formula V racer, having a go at Mazda MX-5s. Peter Higton, who's very experienced in sports car racing, in MGs and Toyota MR2s. He's now in 5th on the grid in his number 4 car, alongside Dan Blake, who's in the Paddock Motorsport prepared car in his 6th. And it's Neil Chisnell, son of Clive, who starts 7th in his father's old Mark 1. And Richard Bartlett, who is doing double duty in this weekend's both of the MX5 Championships. He starts in 8th from row 4. Row 5 is, hopefully, should be George Grant in the car number 169, the Tucker Motorsport car. But yes, I can see him there. He's on 9th on the grid alongside Kevin Bird in the first number 2. Steel City MX5 run cars, alongside his teammate just behind him in 11th place, Robert Greensmith. Next to him is Adrian Johnson in the second of the invitation class cars. And Andrew Dean, Tim Storer, the father of Harry, and Brad Jones, who was also back out in Mark 1s earlier, is also running in Clubman. So, 15 cars on the grid for this first of 2 MX5 Clubman races for today. And I think they're just collecting a couple of the stricken MX5 Supercup cars from the previous race, so we can talk about how the season's progressed so far. So as we said, Harry Storer leads the way in the points coming into the weekend here for MX5 Club, and 393 to his name. That includes 3 races where he pitched to pick up maximum points, which was 100 points for the win, plus 1 point for a fastest lap. And he did the double at Croft in the first ever races, and then picked up the win in the second. He was amongst quite a few invitation class cars. He was in the second race. He was the highest placed point scoring car, as I'm not sure George Grant wants to look in his mirrors there, because he's in the Mark 1. These Mark 3's been pulled in behind him on the low loader. So as one of his race cars heads back to the pit lane on the back of a truck, it's the other one is that he's with him right now, takes him off the grid for the green flag lap. So Harry Storer then, as you mentioned, at Silverstone, there was quite a few invitation class runners. So he was in the second race, when he said he won the second race at Silverstone, he was the highest placed car that was eligible to score points. So he took the maximum score of 100 plus 1 from the point scoring cars. The other result from Silverstone was a 6th place, so he was trying to get himself back on the ropes. That first win was taken by Chris Dawkins. He's been around quite a while in racing, not just MX5s, but also he's done a bit of Euro car racing back in the day as well. So he is not here this weekend, but a decent result there. Rob Greensmith was second of the points, 370 points there. Not quite qualified where he wants to be, and also had a bit of a slightly off weekend compared to his first meeting at Croft. He took a 2nd and a 4th at Croft, and then he was a bit further back. He got a 7th and a 6th at Silverstone, so a bit further down the pack than he wants to be. He's starting just outside the top 10 in 11th place, just behind his teammate. The 2 Steel City cars, the white and orange car with the blue, the racing stripes, and the blue and white car which is behind it. Those are the 2 Steel City cars. So the white and orange is Kevin Bird. The blue car with the white racing stripes is Rob Greensmith. He's the brother of former Porsche and Mazda Mark 1 champion Johnny Greensmith, who in more recent times we've seen him racing in the MX5 Supercup, Johnny. And hopefully we'll get him back out very shortly. He's still got his Supercup car tucked away nicely, so hopefully he'll be able to come back out to play and rejoin the Supercup grid at some point in the future, if not this year, but maybe in the next couple of seasons to come. So Harry Storer then, he's proving the way that is looking pretty clear for him for the Go For It racing squad. Alan Hawkins, of course, has been quite experienced racing in both Mark 1s and Mark 3s, and he's got one of the best liveries in the paddock for Mazda MX-5s at BRSCC. There, it's the multicoloured jigsaw livery on that car. It's one of my favourite looking cars on the grid. He's put a fantastic bit of effort into that car to put the livery together. Thomas Mallet, who has been a regular in the Mark 1 Championship, he's 3rd on the grid. And he, again, is an invitation class driver. Charles Boniface, who, as we say, is a former Formula V frontrunner, has now jumped into the Mazda MX-5s, and he is going to be competing with Misty Racing. So that's Steve Kite's outfit, who've been exploring BRSCC opportunities, not just with the Mazda MX-5 Championship, but also with the Fiestas and the Fiesta Championship. They'll be running Nick Moore in the Fiesta Championship at their next rounds at Snetterton, and they've also been running a couple of drivers in the Fiesta Junior Championship as well. So nice to see them expanding their horizons within Club Motorsport. 5th on the grid is Peter Higton, who said has got quite a lot of experience in, first of all, the MG racing, but also more in recent years in the Toyota MR2 Championship. So he's been more used to kind of mid-engined sports car. Now he's into a front engine rear wheel drive Mazda MX-5 and adapting pretty well. He's in the plain white number 4. And Dan Blake's doing pretty decently. 4th in the points at the moment, 352. He is 41 off the lead. He has the best result so far this year of 5th place, of course, in the Paddock Motorsport prepared car. So, who will take the honours in race number 1 in the MX-5 Clubman Championship? Red lights are on. It's Harry Storer and Alan Hawkins on the front row of the grid as we get underway here at Anglesey. It's a decent equal start between Storer and Hawkins off the front row. They'll turn into turn 1 for the first time. It looks like it will be Harry Storer who has the whole shot as he makes his way up towards the banking for the first time. The two Steel City MX-5 cars are side by side in the mid-pack as they all pile into the right-hander. George Grant going through the middle of Neil Chisnell and Dan Blake, but he gets a little bit hung out to dry by Dan as they turn out to the right-hander, and they're still side-by-side for the lead, running up towards Church Corner as they turn out of the banking through the right-hander and down the back straight for the first time. There, car 50 is Tim Storer, who's starting towards the back of the grid, and but not only is Harry Storer off the road, but big twitch there for Alan Hawkins, and puts both Thomas Mallet on notice, and also look at Charles Boniface in the number 14 Misty Racing car. There he is for 3rd place, side by side with the orange car of Tom Mallet. Peter Higdon in the white car just behind them is in 5th position, trying to get involved in car number 4. He goes up the inside with Charles Boniface. They all turn in through the complex for the first time. Oh, one car I think had to almost come to a stop there. I think in the middle of the pack was Rob Greensmith. He's now side by side with his teammate Kevin Bird, and also in front of them is the Tucker Motorsport prepared car. I think that's the ex-Clive Powell's Mark 1 of George Grant. So they're all behind Richard Bartlett, who started 8th. So he started mid-pack and he stays mid-pack, and there's a great tussle going on behind him for the bottom of the top 10 places. Look at them, they're all piling in at once. There's Adrian Johnson, the black and blue car, number 222. Just charging through like a train there, much like his number. Look at that, it's 4 abreast in towards the hairpin. We've never seen that before in MX-5 racing, genuinely. That's incredible. You've got 38 in there, which is Andrew Dean. The 50 is Tim Storer. And Kevin Bird's been shuffled down towards the back of the field. He must be thinking, what on earth is going on here? He's having a scrap there with Tim Storer, but that's incredible. I've never seen 4 wide before, legitimately, in MX-5 racing like that before. And it's only the first lap, so might be in for quite a barnstormer here between this lot. Forget about the number of cars on the grid. It might be, yes, less than Silverstone, but who cares? It's a brilliant battle so far. And Adrian Johnson is getting his elbows out, battling with Tom Mallet, who, let's remember, he was not Tom Mallet. That's back with, I think, possibly, who was that? Maybe Richard Bartlett or someone towards the back, but we'll work that out as we go along. So Harry Storer leads then, Alan Hawkins 2nd, Thomas Mallet 3rd, but the points for 3rd will go to Peter Higdon if it stays as it is. And it's Dan Blake in 5th position, Richard Bartlett in 6th, Adrian Johnson up to 7th, Greensmith is 8th. Brad Jones is in the orange car, so that's the other orange car that we saw on the field, the NHA car in 9th. Andrew Dean 10th, Tim Storer is 11th. It's Kevin Bird, Clive Chisnell. It shouldn't be Charles Boniface, but Charles Boniface is up to 5th position, so I think it might be a bit of an issue with his transponder because he should be a bit further up there. I'm not sure why that's a bit odd on the timing screen. Oops, running wide is Thomas Mallet, runs very deep, and then takes it 3 abreast into the second part of Rocket. Charles Boniface slips up the inside using all of his Formula V know-how to get the undercut here. He'll switch back to the inside towards Peel. He's up into 3rd place. There's a little wiggly all over the place on the exit on the corner. He's trying to get the power back on. Car twitching around as he sees now Thomas Mallet back to his outside into Siemens. Peter Higdon now wants to try and repass as they go through that downhill left-hander onto the back straight now down the Tom Price straight past the Marshall's post on the left. Good battle developing here. Also 6th, 7th and 8th are quite close. That's Dan Blake in P6 in the black, blue and white machine. The red car just behind him is Richard Bartlett. And then behind them is George Grant. So getting quite a weekend today. He's just jumped out of the SuperCup car and now he's straight into the Mark 1 to try and get some good results there. Here comes Thomas Mallet in the 550, trying to get back past up the inside of Charles Boniface, who, regardless of whether or not Thomas is an invitation class driver, he's driving as if he's contending for the championship, and he's certainly enjoying himself out there. And here comes Peter Higdon with a better run off the corner than Charles Boniface, in through turn 1, and couldn't quite make it stick that time as Charles seemed to sweep across the front of him, but I think Peter's going to try and have a look back at him again as they come through the banking. So it's still the same top 2 at the front. Storer from Hawkins, Mallet 3rd, Boniface 4th, Higdon 5th, and it's Dan Blake in 6th, 7th place for Richard Bartlett. There's George Grant in the Clapham North car, the main sponsor of the MX-5 Clubman Championship and the SuperCup as well. That's where you see both championships. The Clapham North windscreen strips emblazoned across the top. It's all thanks to George Grant. Thank you for his and Clapham North support for the championship. There's Robert Greensmith, there's Adrian Johnson. Just behind him, there's then Neil Chisnall, son of Clive, in his father's old Mark 1, which I think is the same car, which I think a certain Brian Chandler won the championship with back in 2015. I think you can tell that because you look on the fuel cap, there's a little, like a cutout, like someone's peeled away the silver and pit and green livery. And you see a number 1 on there on that fuel cap, which suggests to me that is the ex-Brian Chandler championship winning car from 2015, which has seen quite a few drivers. It's been in the hands of Matt Pickford for a while, and then Brian Chisnall's had that car for a few seasons before he's now jumped into the Mark 3s, and now it's in the hands of Clive's son Neil, his first steps into MX5 racing with the team, and with a car that's got quite a lot of pedigree, so certainly serving him well. He qualified 7th, so he's got some work to do to climb back up from where he is. Back in looks like 11th place. Here's Andrew Dean scrapping away with Tim Storer, father of Harry, who leads the race. There's Brad Jones, followed by Kevin Bird at the back of the field. I think it might be, trying to work out who it was, it might be possibly Andrew Dean. So out of the left-hander, back out of the bus stop, back into another lap now. Just starting to settle down a little bit in this first race for the Clubman Championship. Fastest lap of the race has gone to Thomas Mallet last time by, 151.195. He was a full some 0.6 of a second quicker than the 2 cars in front of leader Harry Storer and Alan Hawkins in second place. And it looks to me as if, whoops, Kevin Berg getting a little wayward there. I think there was a bit of a transponder issue with George Grant because he dropped to the bottom of the timing screen and then popped back up into 7th where he actually is. So maybe a bit of a intermittent transponder, I think, for George. There he is, just in the silver car with the fluorescent yellow flash down the side. There it is. Still holding station in 7th place. He got past Richard Bartlett on that last round, so moved up another spot. Now Thomas Mallet, if he's got the pace to maybe keep up with the top 2 in front, he might well start to bring Charles Boniface with him as well, because he was also quicker than the 2 cars in the lead as well, both Harry Storer and Alan Hawkins. So we might well see Thomas Mallet, who, regardless of where he finishes, won't score any points, but if Charles Boniface actually happens to get past the top 2 if they catch them, as well as Tom, he might even take maximum points here, which would be quite impressive. So 3rd and 4th run together. Change for 5th is on because looks like Dan Lake is lining up a move to get past the experienced Peter Higton. And also George Grant's looking pretty racy as well. He's also trying to get involved and possibly pick up a top 5 place. So there's potential moves everywhere here. Looking to the outside for 3rd goes Charles Boniface into the left hand of the bus stop. Little lock up on the inside front for Charles, but keeps it all neat and tidy apart from that. Still got 7.25 minutes to go, so we're already halfway through this first Mazda MX-5 Clubman Championship race. And Harry Storer, points leader, 3 wins out of 4 so far this year. Trying to make it 4 out of 5 if he can. There he is in the black car at the front of shot. Alan Hawkins 2nd in the multicoloured jigsaw car, and change for 5th position because Dan Blakey's now through in car 27 past Peter Higton. For the moment at least, and George Grant thinks I want a piece of this too. I might want to try and get involved here if he can. So, Dan Blake, car 27, car 4 Peter Higton, the 169 of George Grant as they come up the hill. Under brakes again, and George Grant just creeping closer. They come as they slow the cars up for Rocket. Through the left and through the right. See there was Rob Greensmith battling with Neil Chisnall. That was over 8th position. So nice strong races so far for them. Holding so far at the moment in 9th and 10th position. Still Adrian Johnston 11th, the other invitation class car on the field. 12th for Tim Storer, 13th for Brad Jones, and then it's Kevin Bird and Andrew Dean to round out the 15 cars that started. So we've still got all 15 that took the flag. Richard Bartlett's closing into these 3 now. This is a battle that's developing, as you say, for 6th, 7th and 8th, and now potentially either 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th. So because Peter Higton started in 5th, but he's now been dropped to 7th. It might be 8th if Richard Bartlett can close in as well. That might take a lap a bit to help him catch. Kevin Bird there at the back of the field, just having, I think, fun towards the rear, just shaking the back of the car around on the oversteer on the exit. He's having a nice scrap with Brad Jones and Andrew Dean, having some fun towards the rear of the field. 5.5 minutes left. Still Harry Storer that leads the way by half a second, and they've managed to find their pace again because the gap has gone back between Hawkins and Mallet to 2.5 seconds. So there they are. But actually, Hawkins has gone a full 0.8 of a second quicker on that last lap. In fact, Mallet was even quicker as well. So it was quite a poor lap from, or a slower lap than it had been before for Harry Storer. Now he's had to look in his rearview mirrors because now, possibly looking to his outside to steal the victory, there's going to be Alan Hawkins here. Alan Hawkins in the 7.22, looking to try and pick up a win here from Harry Storer. Harry Storer again a little deep on the first part of the exit of Rocket. Trying to close them up is both Tom Mallet and Charles Boniface if they can. Even if Charles finishes in fourth overall, he'll still get the points for third because, of course, a reminder that Tom Mallet is a invitation class driver, so he is invisible for points. He won't be invisible for the result, but essentially it'll be Boniface who will get the points for third place, and Dan Blake will get the points for fourth, George Grant for fifth, and so on and so forth. So the only other invitation car we've got, as we say, as we've mentioned, is Adrian Johnson, who's back in ninth position, which means that Tim Storer will get the points for ninth instead. In fact, he'll be points for eighth, in fact, actually, because he's got both of the invitation class cars in front of him. There's Charles, just getting used to life in an MX-5 now. He was out at one of the first meetings of the year with us several weeks ago, so just adapting to what has been from a Formula V single-seater to a Mazda MX-5 small sports car, which is quite a challenge. 3.75 minutes left to go in this first MX-5 Clubman race of the weekend, and Harry Storer not having this race all his own way. He's being kept rather honest by Alan Hawkins. Thomas Mallet is third, and it's fourth place for, at the moment, Charles Boniface. There's the top four all in shot together. There's Charles exiting out of the banking. There is now George Grant up to fifth. So George Grant is now up to fifth position. That'll become the points for fourth once Thomas Mallet and Adrian Johnson are taken out of the equation when totting them up. It'll be his first score in the Clubman Championship this year. After making his first appearance, he's been mainly committed to the Superkart, but being on the same weekend, he decided to jump into a Mark 1. And Tucker Motorsport have given him quite a handy car to get to grips with this year, at least this weekend, and certainly enjoying it. He was racing the Mark 1s over the last couple of seasons, mainly with Paul Austin's outfit, NHA Motorsport. So, ever so slight switch of teams, but he's gone to a team that's got a car available, and I suspect the NHA Motorsport outfit has got an almost entirely, if not entirely sold out squad of drivers for this year. So, one of the most populated teams on the grid. And George has managed to find a car for this weekend to just enjoy himself out there, and to also race in another car that's got Clapham North emblazoned all over it as well. He's very proud of the Clapham North MOT brand, which again are very, very loyal supporters of the BRSCC's Mazda MX-5 efforts, and of course as well are main sponsors for both the MX-5 SuperCup and this new Clubman Championship as well. So again, big thank you to George and to Ronnie Grant and to everyone at Clapham North for their support of Mazda MX-5s. He's a real stalwart of the paddock, and someone who is always a pleasure to have around, both on and off track. So less than 2 minutes left in this first MX-5 Clubman race of the weekend. It's still Harry Storer who seems to have shaken off the advances of Alan Hawkins and found his groove again, because he's lapped a second quicker, or more than a second quicker than Alan Hawkins that last time by. 151.3 was his last lap, which is actually on par with his personal best. The fastest lap of the race is still going to Tom Mallet, but again, because he's invitational, that won't count towards him. So actually the fastest lap of the race is instead going to go to, work this out, I think it's going to go to Charles Boniface actually, because he is fourth at the moment on the road, but his best lap is a 151.264, which is faster than both Storer and Hawkins. So he might well get the extra point for fastest lap on this one as well. We'll get he'll get 97 points for this one. We'll get 96 for third place, but for third place out of the point scoring drivers. And then the fastest lap on top of that for being the fastest driver. Again, the fastest lap set by a point-scoring driver as well. So that'll be worked out as the weekend goes on, and heading forwards to the next rounds at Snetterton on the 31st of July. Another stronger grid is number-wise is expected. Oh, there's a spin in the background there up at Rocket, and I think it was Tim Storer. It looked like it was a Go For It racing car, and that was towards the rear of the pack, and he was in that group with Brad Jones, Kevin Bird and Andrew Dean. So I think possibly Tim Storer's gone for a spin. Whether he jumped or whether he was pushed, that's maybe up for debate by the stewards. I think we didn't quite catch the proper aftermath, particularly the angle looking uphill at the rocket complex. Now we've got 10 seconds left on the clock, so whether it will be a checkered flag this time I'm not sure, but if it is, it'll be a fourth win of the season for Harry Storer. The clock is going to go to... it's going to go just to 0 as they cross the line, so they will get one more lap, only just. But actually, Storer crossed the line, and the time on the race was 14 minutes 59.022. He managed to get one more lap in by less than a tenth of a second. So that's been timed absolutely impeccably by Harry Storer. I don't think he even meant it, but that's incredible stuff for the timing of this race. So we are going to get one more lap. And Harry Storer does seem to be enjoying himself in this new MX5 Clubman Championship, certainly learning his craft in here, and who knows, if he is increasingly successul here in the Clubman Championship, he might find himself a bit more confident to jump back into the MX5 Championship and see if what he's learned on this one-day series, to see if he can apply it forwards. And it's interesting to see a few more people that are regular names in the Clubman Championship, sorry, in the main championship, having a go at the Clubman series, which is with the case of drivers like Alan Hawkins, who has been around for a few seasons and about 3 or 4 years in the MX5s, but he's decided to switch across to the Clubman because he likes the slightly more relaxed one-day format, and whilst the main championship is a bit more cut and thrust with some of the faster drivers in the paddock out there, he seems to enjoy the slightly more relaxed, I say relaxed subjectively in terms of it's not quite a relaxed race, but in terms of not being sort of feeling like he's sort of being moved around from pillar to post on track by trying to find some space on track for the drivers around him. He's enjoyed this race, I'm sure. Second place, he'll be delighted with getting one of his best overall results in a Mazda MX-5. But so far, it seems as though no one can really stop the man out in front, Harry Storer, who has, since the start of the Clubman Championship back at Croft in May, has proved to be effectively the man to beat most of the case, and took the 2 wins at Croft, took 1 win at Silverstone, and now he'll start today by taking his 4th win from what is now going to be 5 races out of the final corner. There's still no stopping Harry Storer up to the checkered flag. He wins the first MX5 Clubman race of the day here at Anglesey. It is victory for Harry Storer, 2nd for Alan Hawkins, and while it'll be 3rd place overall for Tom Mallett, his result will not count towards points, so it'll be the points for 3rd place, and I think also the fastest lap will go to him as well, having scored a... what was his last lap on? 2:64. No, it's to Peter Higton, in fact, actually, because Peter Higton was quicker than Charles Boniface, if I'm right on this one, by 0.02 of a second. So I think it should be Peter Higton who will get the point for the fastest lap. So in the overall order, it's actually going to be well, Charles Boniface is showing going down the order, but that's not right. I think that's probably a transponder issue, because Boniface was definitely in there in 4th across the line, as you saw on the stream. So it should be then Dan Blake should be 5th, Peter Higton should be 6th, should be then Richard Bartlett, Rob Greensmith up to 7th from Neil Chisnell and Adrian Johnson. But no, George Grant also hasn't been put in there as well. So it looks like 2 cars with a couple of transponder issues. So I'll have to give you the order once they fix them. But Charles Boniface has been popped back into 4th, and George Grant has been put back into 5th. So Storer wins, Hawkins 2nd, Mallett is 3rd, but he's invitation, which means that he won't get any points. So it's going to be Charles Boniface who gets the points for what would have been 3rd place. George Grant finishes in 5th overall, ahead of Dan Blake in 6th, Peter Higton 7th, who we think should also take the fastest lap of the race out of the point-scoring cars, and it's going to be Richard Bartlett, Rob Greensmith, and Neil Chisnell. I knew he was going to do that. Neil Chisnell in 10th position. 11th place for Adrian Johnson, who is also invitation class as well, and it's Kevin Bird from Brad Jones, Tim Storer, who we think had a spin up at Rocket, and then it's Andrew Dean to round out the 15 cars. So all 15 cars started, and you can count all 15 back home again. So that's good to see. Nice, clean, competitive racing from the MX5 Clubman Championship. They'll be out once again for the second to last race of the weekend at roughly round about 4:20 this afternoon. So one more race until we get to our lunch break this afternoon for today's action, and that is going to be for the first race of 2 for this weekend for the Modified Ford Series, for their first appearance well, if it's their first appearance this year at Anglesey, their second appearance on a live stream and also on a BRSCC race weekend. They were present at the season opener at Donington Park, where they had a fantastic grid of 30 plus cars. Not so many have made it out this weekend, but don't let that detract from the quality. It should be still a fantastic race between them, and thank you again to Paul Neville and everyone at Modified Fords for those who have in attendance this weekend, and they should put on a great mixture with a great variety of fast Fords. I have to admit, I'm quite a fan of fast Fords, but I'm also a fan of Mazda MX-5s, including of course the ones in the Clubman Championship. And there's a very happy Harry Storr. You can see the smile behind his crash helmet. You can tell he's very delighted with that. I'm sure Alan Hawkins will be as well. Look at his sunglasses and everything, Alan Hawkins. And third place, as we said, for Thomas Mallet being the invitation class driver, but third place it'll be for points wise for Charles Boniface. Again, you can see the thumbs up from Alan Hawkins. He's quite a character in the paddock. He's one of the favourite characters amongst the paddock, and again, thumbs up for him. There's Peter Higton as he takes off his crash helmet. Just remember the hands device first. Dan Blake also climbing out as well. He'll be pleased with getting the points for 5th. And the rest of the field heads into Parc Fermé as well. So impressive stuff from everyone involved. And so I think we go down to Jamie Peters-Ennis, who'll have a chat with our, what look to be 3 very, very happy drivers on the podium for our first race of the weekend for the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Clubman Championship here at Anglesey. So Jamie down to Parc Fermé to have a chat to our top 3 from race 1.
So after a great BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Clubman Championship, your winner was Harry Storr. Harry, you've got to be really made up with that as the rain starts to fall.
Yeah, I'm really happy with that actually. Super glad that the rain's starting now, not during the race, because that would have scuppered me. But no, really good fun. Fantastic race by Alan. So yeah, enjoyed it.
Fantastic, well done. Second place was Alan Hawkins. Alan, great result. Suppose Harry will be your next target for the next one.
Well, yeah. If I hadn't missed third gear going into the first bench, I might have had him going into the hairpin, but my mistake. So, you know, that's racing, isn't it? Really.
Hey,
he's a good driver, though. He's a good driver.
We're all human, so it's fine. We've all done it, so it's absolutely fine. Third place overall was Tom Mallet. Tom, congratulations on the great third place. You've got to be really happy with that.
Yeah, no, it was good. It's just nice to get to the end and not have any problems. And yeah, it was good. It was a good race. Got a bit close at the end, but couldn't quite get past them or get to them. So, but it was a good race.
Excellent stuff. Well done. And
George Grant.
And third place in the Clubman section. Congratulations on your third place.
Third? Okay, oh brilliant, thanks. I thought I was, yeah, I'll take third. No, thanks, yeah. Obviously first weekend racing this weekend and completely new to everything, so yeah, to pick up the third and the first race out, I'll take that. All right. Thank you very much.
No problem. And over to George Grant. Where is George? We'll have a quick chat with you.
Thank you.
Great to have so many cars out here at Anglesey. Thankfully, we've managed to dodge the weather a little bit.
We have actually. Yeah, it's been fantastic all weekend actually, and we've just had a few dribbles just now. So yeah, what a wonderful place. Great grids, and this Clubman series is really taken off. You know, thanks to the BRSCC and those awfully nice people at Clapham North.
And also, especially the difficult 18 months we've all had as well.
Well, it is, and it's just a shame that we haven't got any crowds here, because normally we get a good amount of people here. Yeah.
All right, excellent stuff. Thanks a lot, George. Now, next up will be our first look at the BRSCC Modified Saloon Series. So I'll hand you back to Scott Woodward, who will take you through the next race.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much on that one, Jamie. The car's already out on their formation lap for this first race of the weekend. The second time on live stream this year for the Modified Ford Series. Brilliant new series. It's joined forces with the BRSCC this year. Great to have them on board. Again, not as many cars as we had at Donington Park, but regardless, should be a fantastic race with the 14 that we have here lining up for us this afternoon. So the grid, as follows, to give you a quick rundown, is as follows. So it's Dave Cockell's Ford Escort Cosworth on pole position alongside Piers Grange's Escort Mark II. Ashley Shelswell in his Ford Sierra XR4i next to Malcolm Wise in another Escort Cosworth. It's Paul Neville in the Escort RS 2000 and Stuart Day in his Escort Cosworth. It's Darren Owens Escort Mark 1 RSR and Dave Barrett in the Fiesta Z-Tech S come next on row 4. Then it's John Edwards Parton in the Fiesta XR2, the Crossflow powered S Fiesta Mark 1 of Jimmy Neophytu. Then it's the Hadfields, Mark and Kevin, who had one of those Pumas fell in qualifying, and Andy Pipes Mark 1 and Ollie Allen's Ford Fiesta Mark 3. So 14 cars, 15 minutes, all set for another race here for the third time on live stream for the Modified Ford Series here at Anglesey. It's Dave Cockell and Piers Grange on the front row of the grid. The lights go out and we're racing. A cracking start from the front row of the grid to get the whole shot for the Mark II Ford Escort of Piers Grange, Dave Cockell, which I know that car's got several hundred horsepower in that Ford Escort Cosworth. Not quite getting the start he was hoping. They all head down towards the banking for the first time. They make a great sight. If you're a Ford fan, definitely one for you. And Ashley Shelswell was also going for second place there. All over the place on the exit, the banking getting very sideways. But he's managed to hold on. And he might well have lost second place again as they come down towards the right-hander. There's the number 2 of John Edwards Parton in the Fiesta XR2, battling away with Andy Pipes Ford Escort Mark 1. What a fantastic sound they make with some of these fast forwards. I have to admit, I'm a bit of a fast forward fan, so there's some great cars in this field. The number 17 of Ollie Allen there in the Mark III Fiesta, Mark III Fiesta, made a couple of spots up already. And there at the inside, diving up there was, I think that was, no, sorry, that was Dave Barrett we were looking at. Ollie Allen's the white car there, the Ford Fiesta Mark III, getting in the mix there too. But already it's Piers Grange in the Escort, in another Escort Mark II, leading the way. It's then the Escort Cosworth of Dave Cockell, which I know has got about 600 or 700 brake horsepower and put quite a charge at Donington Park when he had some kind of a gear shift issue at Donington Park. I think if I'm correct, the gear stick fell off, so he unfortunately had to retire from the first race. Came from the back of the grid and took him about 8 minutes to go through from the back of a 30-plus car grid all the way through to the front of the field, and he was battling away with a wonderful car which was there at Donington Park, the Wayne Crabtree Subaru engine Ford RS200. That's a fantastic car on that grid. Hopefully we'll have that back for a future round later on this year, but Dave Cockell already making inroads on the small lead that Piers Grange had. Now as the 95 Ford Escort Cosworth makes its way back into the right-hander at the banking to try and take the lead away. But Piers Grange's Ford Escort Mark II is looking equally pretty powerful. There's Ashley Shelswell's Ford Sierra XR4i. It's Malcolm Wise in looks like 4th position in his example of the Paul Neville, in fact, up to 4th in his Ford Escort RS2000. The sound of these fantastic Ford engines in the background, some like proper touring cars, old school touring cars of the 80s and 90s. Going to be fast machines. There's car number 8. That's Daz Owen in his Ford Escort Mark I RSR. With a great large rear wing on the back of that machine as they make the sprint down towards Hill for the second time. And I have to say, Piers Grange's Escort Mark II has got the measure of Dave Cockell's car. If you saw the car at Donington Park, it was in quite dominant form, particularly on the sections where there were some long straights. And I think down the Tom Price straight here, Dave Cockell might have the power advantage, but he's certainly trying as hard as he can to try and make this work. Ashley Shelswell on his own in 3rd place in that very competitive Sierra with the almost RS500-esque front bumper on that car. So 4th place now for Paul. But that's for Malcolm White. He's got past the Escort RS2000 amount of Paul Neville, and he's also under threat now from the number 17 now of Allen in that Ford Fiesta Mark III. Started towards the back of the field. We didn't set a time in qualifying, so he's had some work to do from 14th on the grid. He's already making up some inroads and making up a few places. He's now up to 7th place from the back of the grid. So Ollie Allen having to work hard in his what he states is a Mark III Fiesta. I would have called it a Mark VI, but there's not too much debate about that. So I'm being pedantic with car models, so forgive me on that one. Anyway, the leaders might change here because Piers Grange runs a little wide through Church Corner, and the straight line poke of that Ford Escort Cosworth is going to really start to come into play here. The two cars absolutely rocket ships down towards the School Corner, back under brakes again towards the Rocket Complex, quite fittingly. So a good little duel going on here between different generations of Escort. The Sierra in 3rd place of Ashley Shelswell holding on to 3rd. Malcolm Wise 4th. Ollie Allen's up to 5th now. He's got past Stuart Day's red Ford Cosworth and then getting past the RS2000 Escort of Paul Neville. They make their way back towards the Siemens complex for the first time. Very equally matched battle there. I wonder what the race would have been like if Piers Grange had been in this kind of form at Donington Park. Now, that's interesting. The wipers are on for Dave Cockell, and you have to admit, if it gets to the wet weather, you have to admit the Escort Cosworths are going to be in a real advantage here because they'll have the 4-wheel drive system. Yes, all right, they might be on a different tyre, which might not be too conducive to the weather conditions, but the 4-wheel drive will certainly help. Now the pit straight, wonderful engine in that Mark II Escort singing away with Piers Grange at the wheel. Here's a nice little battle here with Malcolm Wise. He's usually quite formidable in that Escort, backing against his old sparring partner Rob Burley. He has a separate car like this, or a similar car like this, and he's now finding himself under threat from the very fast Mark VI Fiesta of Ollie Allen. So he's made another position now. It's up into 4th position, 4th overall. Now his next target, if he can lap that quickly, is going to be to try and catch the 3rd place car of Ashley Shelswell. As we see now, Malcolm Wise's car with wipers ablaze, and also Daz Owens as well, that Ford Escort red RSR Mark I. big spit of flame from the exhaust. This is a brilliant car to watch, and fantastic spectacle they make these modified Fords. Really looking forward to the next few rounds. I think their next round is going to be with us, at least at the BRSCC at Alton Park on August 14th. So hopefully we'll get a few more of the cars which compete at Donington Park back on the grid once more. Into Siemens, the weather wipers now starting to go on everyone. Oh, Stuart Day, little twitch there. I know these cars are four-wheel drive, but if it starts to get a bit damp out there, they might find themselves possibly sliding around a bit more than they'd like to. So watch for these three Ford Escort Cosworths. In theory, the four-wheel drive should put them in good stead, but Daz Owen is taking full advantage of his potential grip advantage to go around the outside of Stuart Day and get the much better traction off the corner, but even he's struggling for grip. So everyone now starting to put the wipers on. I don't know. I can't really tell how severe the rain is and how quickly it's falling, but it seems to be very light rain, but it's causing enough to maybe sort of make it a little bit slick out there for the drivers. But that said, sometimes you can't really tell by the speed of the wipers. They might have it to one set speed, so it might be that it might look as though it's going like the clappers on the windscreen, but it might not be that strong a rain. So still, with the wipers going to and fro, it might be an opportunity for some of the cars in the mix to try and take advantage with some of the grip advantage they might have, particularly the four-wheel drive cars if they can make it work. So out in front, Piers Grange still holding on against Dave Cockell. Lap time wise, they're very, very similar. In fact, last lap they're actually a tenth slower running in tandem with each other than actually Shellswell. So that's one to watch out for. Here's that battle still going on. There's Malcolm Wise, Paul Neville, Stuart Day and Daz Owen. Now it's going to try and get a little bit better grip on the exit of the corner. Here is our top two again. You can hear that Mark II engine singing up towards the hairpin. It's a beautiful sounding car. Out of the hairpin they go. There's Shellswell in the background in third place in the Sierra. And again, the rain continues to fall here. Apparently it seems very, very lightly, but it's doing enough to make the track a little bit slicker, a little bit greasier than it was before. And whoa, Piers Grange caught that very well indeed on the exit of the final corner, in front of a rather bemused Dave Cockell, thinking that was going to be a one-way ticket to an accident. But well held from Piers Grange to keep that car from getting into the barriers in the Mark II Escort. But now he's thought, right, you've had your moment. Now it's my chance to attack here. Dave Cockell having a look to try and press on. Great car control from Piers Grange. Very lucky to keep it not front spearing left, but managed to get on the brakes and managed to hold on to that very quickly. You can tell that's how greasy it's becoming out there already, even with a bit of light rainfall. But here it comes, side by side. Piers Grange has got incredibly slightly better acceleration off the corner. They're going to be a bit more careful through School Corner here. Now the rain's starting to fall a little bit more. This will mean that this afternoon's races might be a little bit more interesting, given the fact that it's going to be slightly different conditions that we've had with the bone dry track we've had all weekend so far. And now they head up towards out of Peel Corner. And there's actually Shellswell. Ran fairly strongly. That's a really nice sounding car. I think that's a V6 underneath that Sierra. Beautiful sounding engine. I didn't really want to talk there because that just Mark II engine sounded so brilliant on the run towards the hairpin. It's a wonderful sounding car. So, but Piers Grange putting a fantastic effort to keep race winner at Donington Park, Dave Cockell, at bay. Dave Cockell's been in BRSCC events before. It was back in the days of the Arrow Pack Euro Saloons and Sports Cars when that car was prominent in that series as well. And since then he's raced it all over the place in those last few years. Good to have him back in the BRSCC paddock this year. He made that reappearance at Donington Park in the modified Fords. And I think he's enjoying himself out there. Now Daz Owen has caught, he's not only caught on past Paul Neville's Escort RS 2000, but he's also now got onto the tail of Malcolm Wise here. And this is going to be for 5th position. So Malcolm Wise in his Escort Cosworth, and he's called one of 3 out there that has this WRC style body kit, like the car which ran back in 1997-98 in WRC in the hands of drivers like Carlos Sainz and Juha Kankinen. Some drivers having to get their rally skills out here in these damp conditions. Under brakes here, this brilliant back and forth battle here between Piers Grange and Dave Cockell. It looks like it's in a bit of a stalemate, but wherever Dave Cockell tries to throw an attack, Piers Grange always has a response in that brilliantly prepared Mark II Escort. Out through Peel Corner. 2 generations of Escort, very evenly matched. And he turns his way now into the left hand. Just the background there, you can see Paul Neville and Stuart Day disappearing off into the rocket complex. There's Ashley Shelswell in that wonderful sounding V6 Sierra. Now then, to the outside goes Dave Cockell. You can see a couple of light spots of rain starting to form on the camera, just you can see through the focus. So I think there's some rain getting in there. Going to come up to put a lap on. I think Dave Barrett's Ford Fiesta Z-Tech S, I think, is going to come up and put a lap on. He's just coming across the line now, but they'll come up to put to passing shortly. And Dave Cockell moves to the inside line, possibly have a look getting through, but once more Piers Grange shuts the door. He's almost slightly tiptoeing their way through turn 1, not as quick as they were before because of the greasy conditions now with the light rain falling. Now with 3 minutes to go, it'll be an interesting battle. Still, it's Stuart Day now. Again, taking a speculative look up the inside of Paul Neville, the man who looks after modified Fords as a whole, and it's great to have Paul and modified Fords under the BRSCC roster this year. Again, they have that fantastic grid at Donington Park. We've got some brilliant cars here competing at Anglesey. We're looking forward to the next few rounds. Oh, Malcolm Wise is off the road. Malcolm Wise, the Ford Escort Cosworth, is off by the barriers. Now, I don't think he's hit the barriers. I think he's just simply pulled up with a problem. So, either that, or he's slid off the road, given the wet conditions. Now, I think he's trying to get it going again. Either he's stuck, or there's a problem with that car. I'm not 100% sure, but that's a real shame for Malcolm. That car still not having moved yet. And it's, whilst we try to get that going, I was going to explain, it's a 4-class system in the modified Ford. You have Class A for, we've got going again, so we'll go back to that in a second because Malcolm Wise has managed to find the circuit again. So I think he must have, I'm guessing he might have had a bit of an off, potentially, up at the hairpin here. Found himself possibly glancing against the barriers, trying to get the car restarted, and has managed to do so, but has lost several positions. So I think he's now been lapped by, well, not quite, he's been lapped by the leaders, but certainly getting quite close. So out of the left-hander, they're going to have, I think, maybe just about 2 more laps because they're coming across the line now. They're just come through, and stopped at the. Looks like he stopped on the what is the coastal circuit. That's the Ollie Allen Ford Fiesta that was having such a great race for 4th position. Now then, those two he was quite close to Malcolm Wise. I don't want to put 2 and 2 together, but Malcolm Wise has come off the road. Now Ollie Allen's car has stopped further around the circuit on the same lap. So I wonder, I don't want to guarantee that it's between those two, but there might have been possibly something between those two, but we'll leave it to the clerk of the course and the stewards to decide if there was anything between them, if there was anyone at fault, if at all. So we think just about 2 laps to go then. We're on the penultimate lap of the race as now Dave Cockell takes the tighter exit out of turn 1 to get the racing line for turn 2. Now Ollie Allen's car is off the circuit because it's on the runoff area, so I don't think it'll be a problem in terms of position because he's pulled it right off a piece of circuit that isn't being used, so it should be alright and it shouldn't prompt any yellow flags or anything, I don't think. Now to that part of the circuit where Ollie Allen has pulled off, and Piers Grange still maintaining the pace. Yeah, he's not in the way of anyone, so the racing should continue without any yellow flags, I think. And if Dave Cockell wants the victory here, his 2nd win out of 3 races, well, he'll have to try and make it happen pretty quickly, and he might well think he might have more horsepower, and he might well have 4-wheel drive. So you might be thinking, surely I've got the advantage here, but he'll know that he's not only very experienced, but a very good driver in this Mark II Escort, and he won't give this one up for an inch. Now, 10 seconds left to go. They will get just about 1 more lap. Yes, they will. So last lap board goes out. It's blue flags to try and put a lap on the number 2 Ford Escort Mark II, and that's going to be of John Edwards-Parton. You almost think he's in the same stable as Alan Hawkins with that jigsaw livery on that car, but I think they're completely unrelated, so it just seems to be a good coincidence that those cars have got a very similar livery. So, out of the bank for the last time, and the top 2 have been in pretty much a rather tense stalemate throughout this entire race, very evenly matched between these two generations of Escort, the Mark II against the Mark, I'm not quite sure what the generation is, but the Escort RS Cosworth. And back up towards the complex, and again you see It's not comfortable taking the racing line. Grange prefers to go right to the wide on the exits, take the inner line for the second part of Rocket. Opposite line for Coquel, but he wants to try and get the undercut and get a nice slingshot off the corner here to close back in. He's running out of options here with a few more corners to go on this last lap, but I think Dave will certainly have enjoyed this back-to-back full battle. They're coming up to put a lap on the Mark 1 Escort of Andy Pipe, which, if I'm correct, you can actually get a Scale Extras model of that car now, because one of the sponsors of 105 is Scale Extric, and I think they've been recently revealed that Andy Pipe's Escort Mark 1 there is now been immortalised in Scale Extric's form, which is great. He lets them both through on the lap. You might have a tiny lock-up there from Piers Grange under brakes for the hairpin, but it appears, with 1 corner to go, that Piers Grange is going to hold on here and hold off the might of Dave Coquel, whose car's quite formidable, but it looks as though so is Piers as he comes down towards the left-hander at the bus stop for the final time in a brilliant back-and-forth race in the first modified Ford encounter of the day. The victory will go overall to Piers Grange in the Ford Escort Mark II. He takes the victory only just from Dave Coquel, and the winning margin at the end of the race was only 0.179 of a second between them. That's how close it was. Ashley Shelswell will come across the line and take second place in Class A. It was class wins, respectively, even classes B1 and A for Grange and Coquel. It will be 4th place coming across the line shortly for Daz Owen. He's in the invitation class this weekend. He's the sole invitation class car. There's one of the Pumas coming across the line in the background. That is, that would have been possibly, we have one Puma on the grid because that was the 76 car, because the other one stopped in qualifying sadly. So Paul Neville with a little bit of a sideways moment there. The car which we saw stop, I think, was the 21 car might have, was Kevin Hatfields come across the line. It is going to be Paul Neville who comes across in 5th place. And he managed to get ahead of Stuart Day. I think he had some issues on that last lap and lost about 10 seconds. So he comes across in 6th place, but 3rd in Class A. So good effort from him so far. We've also had our rest of our class winners cross the line and finish as well. So Andy Pipe was winner in Class B, and it was John Edwards Parton in Class C. So let's confirm the result then. It is Piers Grange who wins overall and in Class B1. And that is a win by 0.179 of a second from Dave Coquel in second, who also wins Class A by finishing second overall. 3rd place overall, second in Class A goes to the Sierra XR4 Anglesey Shelswell. The invitation class runner Daz Owen picks up 4th overall and the class win for him. It's 2nd in B1 and 5th overall for Paul Neville. Then it's the 3rd place and 3rd place in class and 6th overall for Stuart Day. Andy Pipe wins the Class B in 7th overall in his Escort Mark 1, followed by the Class C winner John Edwards Parton and his Fiesta XR2. Then it's Class A's Malcolm Wise after he had that was an off or pulled up alongside the tyres earlier on in 9th place and 4th in Class A. Then it's the Hadfield for Puma number 76 to finishes 10th. Jiminier Fire2's Crossflow Engine Mark 1 Fiesta in 11th place and 3rd in Class C. And then Dave Barrett's Class C Ford Fiesta Z-Tech S was 4th in category and 12th overall. The only non-finisher that we had sadly was Ollie Allen, who had a great charge for what was at one point inside the top 5, but had to pull off down at the coastal circuit off runoff area due to a mechanical issue of some kind. So modified Fords are done for the first race. They will be our last race of the day in our second half of today's action. But we're going to have a lunch break coming up now for roughly about, what's the time now? We are, I think, right on time actually. We're right on time for lunch break, which should be quarter past 1. And we're pretty much bang on quarter past 1 now. So we're straight into lunch break. It'll be about an hour's worth, and then we'll be back on action with more coming up this afternoon. We'll quickly run you through as a reminder of the timetable after we've done top 3 interviews for the modified Fords before we then break for lunch and remind you of the all race order. But there's your race winner overall, and also your class winner from Class B1 for today's first race, the modified Fords, in it being Piers Grange. I'm sure the first person he's going to come and get a handshake from is Dave Coquel. I think I'm sure he'll have enjoyed that little back and forth battle. It might have felt like a bit of a stalemate, but even so, nice to see them going back and forth. They see Dave take a look at the engine on that car as well. Might not have thumbs up for Dave. He's still smiling. Still a class win for him, so he'll be enjoying that. But that's what several hundred horsepower of Ford Escort RS Cosworth looks like. And that's quite a large turbo on that car as well, so no wonder it's got several hundred horsepower. So no wonder he was flying on the straights at Donington Park. He was pretty rapid there. And no wonder he, as I mentioned, he started at the back of the grid after a gear shift issue. Look at that, handshakes and japes all around. But yeah, let's have a chat to our top 3 after that race with James Peter Dennis. An entertaining first race for the modified Fords here in Anglesey in Wales. There'll be more of those in the last race of the day this afternoon. Let's go down to Park Fermé and our pit reporter James Peter Dennis with the top 3 for our modified Fords.
A fantastic a fantastic BRSCC modified Ford series. Our winner was Piers Grange, but you probably had the widest Mark II in the world. Not even four-wheel drive could help Dave get past you. You've got to be so happy with that.
Yeah, I am very happy with that. Luckily, my car was a little bit quicker in some of the twisty bits, which just give me a couple of car lengths on the straights. And then, like you say, making my car wide. Luckily, he's a good driver, isn't he? Yeah, good fun.
Excellent stuff. Dave, you tried everything, didn't you? And not even 600 horsepower and four-wheel drive could help get you past his pocket rocket.
No, he did really well. Yeah, he did really well. It was a tough race. Yeah, looking forward to the next one.
And you going to try and get the jump on him next one?
Hopefully, yeah. I don't know what happened to start. He just got. I'm like, whoa, hang on a minute. Slow down. Yeah.
Excellent stuff. Well done. Third place was Ash Shell as well. We'll just have a quick word with Ash. You nearly had them.
Yeah, at the start I nearly had them. Cocker was a bit slow coming on the back straight. He held me up. They got away with it. And they were just edging away slightly. I kept pulling back slightly, but when the rain come down, it got a bit iffy. My wiper stopped working, so. But then it come back again, but too late then.
Yeah, and obviously rear-wheel driving a lot of power. You're almost hanging on to it, aren't you?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, and a welded diff as well. So it's a bit, yeah, yeah.
Excellent stuff. Well done. Well, there's your top three for the BRSCC modified Ford series. Next up, after lunch, will be the Superkarts. We'll be starting a little bit earlier at 2 o'clock, so we'll see you then.
Thank you, Jamie. Yes, okay, so action getting underway, so you can see a little bit earlier, but this is the sort of scheduled times we have for the weekend. So here is what's happening coming up. It's pretty much a repeat of what we had this morning. So Superkart start off with their final race of the weekend first of all, and then it'll be Mazda MX-5 Championship with their third race. Then the third race for the National Formula Ford, national only because the Northern Formula Fords only had 2 scheduled races this weekend. Then it's the MX-5 Supercup, MX-5 Clubman Championship, and once again, as you've just seen them, the modified Fords for their second race. So we're going to head for a lunch break now. Join us at roughly around about just before, let's say, 2 o'clock or so, because we're getting racing underway for the afternoon here at Anglesey on our BRSCC live race weekend. So settle in, get yourself first lunch, and get yourself refueled because it's more high-speed action coming up this afternoon from Wales after the break. So take care, and we'll see you in a few minutes' time for more action here from Anglesey in Wales with the BRSCC.